I do believe we're live. This could be interesting. I've managed to break my machine. We've not even started yet. All I did was try and run Wirecast, and that was the end of that. So, good evening, everybody. How the devil are you? I'm going to worry about Wirecast shortly. Actually, Wirecast's all right. It's Alfred that's acting up now. So, good evening. Let me go back to the beginning. Good evening, Kim. Good evening, Deb and Johnny. And is that a different Deb or another Deb? Hang on. We've got lots of Debs. No, same Deb. Because I know have we got two Debs that can't make it tonight? Hello, Mark. Hello, Paul. Hello, Neil. Oh, the gang's gathering.
All those who aren't in the chat.
And all those who aren't in the chat. I know Erwin's with us, so good evening, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hello, Erwin. I think Erwin's on European Central Time, possibly. So possibly late. So before I can do anything, oh dear, I need to nuke Alfred. Why is Alfred misbehaving? Alfred's stuck in the middle of my main screen and won't be told otherwise. Now, the problem with that is that means I can't use Alfred to run activity monitor. So now I'm going to have to go and find the utilities to shut Alfred down, and it's a long, complicated story, which you don't need to worry about, do you? Now, I need to worry about that, but you don't need to worry about that. But Alfred, what are you thinking? Alfred doesn't normally die on me like that. And I can't possibly do a demo, can I? Right. No, hang on. I see. Right, let's see if we can get it running. If I can get Alfred running, then we're good to go. Can't do a demo without Alfred. Nothing will work. Mike's seen me try and work without Alfred before. It wasn't pretty, was it, Mike? Alfred's working. Excellent. Right. 21,000 people in your family tree. I don't think I know 21,000 people, full stop. Never mind being related to them. Mind you, I could be. Who knows? Maybe I am. But I don't think so. I'm an only one. And sometimes too much knowledge, I think. Right, let's see that you can see my screen. Hopefully you can. Oh, no. I've just realised, Mike, the webcam's not working. Oh, it's going to be one of those nights. Mind you, we usually have a ball when the tech's acting up, don't we? I'll worry about the webcam later. Now I've fixed Alfred. One thing after another. Good evening, Alex. Right, I'm going to share my screen, so you let me know if you can see the blue desktop, which is going to morph magically into the slides, and then we'll get going. Now, you all know what we're doing tonight, so no element of surprise. Be an element of surprise if it actually manages to work. Let's just say that. Excellent, right. Should now be seeing the start of the slides. He's hoping, fingers crossed. Now, is everything recording? Apparently so. So the only problem I've got is that my webcam is acting up. But minor problem. So, hello, good evening and welcome. What have we got tonight? All by request, these sessions, all by request. We've got the week at MacBites headquarters, which has been a busy old week. Then we've got textiles and Affinity Publisher. Now, this was for Deb, wasn't it? Debs, or Deborah. One of them. In fact, I think that was requested by more than one person. It's not a difficult topic. You just need to know the tricks. So that's what we'll be looking at. Another one that was a request was Scrivener to Affinity Publisher styles workflow, which can be a bit tricky. But again, there's a trick to it. Once you know it, you'll be fine. Then we got some freebies. I've got lots of freebies. Lots of them. Quite expensive freebies as well this week. Then Mike's doing... You can have expensive freebies because there's a price next to them that they'll be next week. So you just feel that, like, I'm going to download those because it's so expensive. You know I'm right. Then Mike's showing us cylinder charts. I was fascinated by these. More fascinated than probably was good for Mike, because that meant I had lots of questions. Then another one that was requested, which was designing planner pages in Affinity Publisher, which I've been doing for a while, but I must admit I didn't start in Affinity Publisher, so I'm going to show you what I used to do. Then we got an unboxing, or we would have if the webcam was working. So hopefully I'll be able to fix the webcam on the fly later. At the moment, not playing ball, but we'll see. Now, before we get going, make sure that you are in HD. Best quality, select 720 from the cog below the video. It should be on the right hand side. If you've been with us before, it may already be in HD, but sometimes it gets its underwear in a tangle and it forgets, in which case you need to make sure that you put it into HD. Because you wouldn't want to miss the week at MacBites headquarters, would you? Been a busy old week. Started on Saturday when I spotted this in one of our newspapers. You're wondering which bit, aren't you? Let me enlighten you. That bit there. The 50 best podcasts to listen to right now. Guess what wasn't mentioned? Only the best podcast on the planet. How could they possibly have overlooked us? I mean, seriously, our artwork alone would have looked fabulous on the front of the eye. But never mind. You all know which is the best podcast. So I went on into Sunday. Can you remember what you did on Sunday, Mike? No. He's about to remember, though. We nearly got kicked out, didn't we? We were playing away, as it were. We were at church, but that's not our church. Oh, no, ours is far more modern than that. But fear not. We were on the front row, as you can see. And we were all teched up. That's what nearly got us thrown out. But guess who took over proceedings? Only Mike. And look, the altar servers are still awake. Every year some cheques are presented from the group that we run. And last year I took some photos and I took them from the other side. It wasn't Mike presenting them. It was the previous guy in charge. And behind him, when the photos came out, all the altar servers were asleep. So I said to Mike, we'll sit on the other side. And that way I can cut the altar servers out. The altar servers had moved. But luckily, look, they're all awake. So that was our Sunday. We played away. Then Monday. Somebody spent some money on Monday. It was that time I needed to pump up the amount on my iTunes cards. So put all that lot on, ready to spend. But didn't spend yet. Tuesday had a delivery. Now, let me know in the chat if this has happened to you. My Amazon delivery arrived on Tuesday, hermetically sealed. I'm wondering if it's something to do with the virus. I've no idea what difference it makes that my stuff was in a plastic bag. I don't know whether they were trying to protect me, the stuff, or them. No idea. But more than one delivery this week arrived in a plastic bag. It's not good for the planet, is it? Anyway, on to Wednesday, when somebody reminded me, because I love Christmas. Only 42 weeks to Christmas Eve. Time to get the tree up then, really. Then it was on to Thursday. Do you remember why you were happy on Thursday, Mike?
Oh, we won.
Ah, he does remember. A grand victory in the FA Cup. The prize for beating Derby? A trip to Norwich. Joy. If you're not from the UK, you may not have heard of Norwich. Getting to Norwich is like an expedition. The motorway, or freeway as our American friends call it, ends about 2 hours away. And the rest of the journey is like time travelling back to the days of horse and cart. I went down to East Anglia once. Once was enough, we'll never be returning. So that's where the game is. But that took us to Friday, and Friday was a huge day. Now, who in the chat can tell me why Friday was a huge day? You should all have had this marked on your calendar for the last 3 months, which is a clue. Who can remember why Friday was a very important day? I bet you can't, can you? Let me give you a clue. I won't say the coronavirus cleared the waiting room, but I was the only one there at the dentist. I actually had the pick of the car park spaces too. Seriously. I actually got there and I thought, are they open? Because the car park holds probably about 8 to 10 cars, and usually you are parking on top of one another. Nothing. It was empty. So much so, I thought, has the dentist walked to work today? Ah, exactly, Deb. It was the dentist. Now, the result. Oh, drum roll, please, if you will. Yes! This time it was what they call a hex appointment. I'm sure Kim can enlighten us. But a hex appointment basically means you see the hygienist first and then on to the dentist. So, the dentist is always delirious with me. But the hygienist, you know how nitpicky they are. Well, not only a 5-star report from the hygienist, even better than that. Wait for it. Words you would never think you would ever hear uttered. There is nothing for me to do. I came back and Mike was totally disgusted, weren't you? His hygienist always finds something to do. But mine was pleased with me. Thank you, Kim. Oh, I was rather pleased myself. Usually she does find something to do. I'll just do this or I'll just do that. But she was stood there with, I'll polish them a bit then. I said, fair enough. And then, to celebrate, it was night out last night, hence has not been live on Friday. You'll notice the raffle tickets. We didn't win. That was disgusting. No, we didn't win. But there was a little present just above that napkin in the envelope, which was a lovely little angel. I'll take a picture of that. A little badge that you put on yourself, and it had a nice little poem with it. So it was very nice. Lovely, lovely night. Now, you should know what we do when we go out like that on a Friday night on the way back. Well, I said to Mike, are you going shopping in the morning? He said, yes. I said, why wait? And there he is at Tesco's. He actually got a comment, didn't you? This guy said, you always get dressed up to go shopping. And then the other one said to him, you can tell you're in Trafford, can't you? Oh, dear. Now, what is more shocking? Mike shopping in his tux or me behind a trolley? I'm behind that trolley. Now, I don't venture into the shops often, not since the Asbo anyway. But passing through the teeth aisle reminded me why. And I thought, I wonder if Kim's aware of this. £34 for a toothbrush head. That's probably about $44, $45. What? When did that happen? Or is it just me? I mean, they're so expensive. Look at them. They're all security protected. It's a toothbrush. I clearly have not been shopping in a long, long time if it's £34 for a toothbrush. But there you go. Now, this isn't our trolley, but it does seem someone was intent on stocking up on toilet paper. And Dolmio sauce by the look of it. But never let it be said Tesco don't sell absolutely everything, including Corona Extra, it seems. Seriously, apparently it's a thing and you can drink it. There's a branding department going into meltdown somewhere, isn't there? But on my way out, I won't say there was panic buying, but it seems some folk opened the packets and ate them in store, straight from the freezer. Oh, I always have a ball when I'm out shopping. Can you see now why they banned me from the stores? I embarrass them. Can you imagine walking in? I mean, how hygienic is that? Just saying, Tesco's. Just saying. But there we were at the checkout, all tucked up, and notice what is in his left hand? Dog treats. The most important dog treats. No, that was Stretford. That's a new one. Have you been to that one, Neil? It's very close to Old Trafford. But we went to that one because it's open 24 hours. And the staff were really, really nice, to be honest. In his right hand, he's got some multicoloured tomatoes for me that I quite fancied the look of. But obviously the dog treats were the most important.
Toblerone's still in the basket.
No, the Toblerone went on first. Can you see that bar of... Let me just mark that up in case anybody's missed it. That one there, the Toblerones are next to that, Mike. That was a bar of Cadbury's Dairy Milk. And that was not mine.
There's not much left of that.
Neither's that toilet duck behind it and the bread. That wasn't me either. Anyway, that was our week. So let us know what your week's been like. Before we head straight into styles in Affinity Publisher. There are people watching live now who'd like, get on with it, get on with it. Well, we're getting on with it. Straight into it. No explanations, just going to go straight into it. How are we doing tonight? Oh, we're in that mood. Fair enough. We'll do the alternate thing. Right, so styles, Affinity Publisher. Let's get into Affinity Publisher. That story's very large. It is. That's one of our biggest, to be honest with you. That didn't work too well, did it? Let's do that again. Okay, we'll do Affinity. There we go. Oh, that's why Alfred's upset. There's an update. That is one of our biggest. It's fairly huge, isn't it, actually? I'm thinking about the hypermarket. Do you ever go to the hypermarket in Earlham? Probably comparable with that. But yes, it is one of our biggest. But they still had no hand sanitizer, no matter what. Right, so I'm going to get a new file. And the first thing to understand with styles, I'll go for A4. The first thing to think about with styles is that they are possibly not where you think they are, because the styles we're talking about are text styles. So basically you have a text frame and you put your text in it, lorem ipsum or whatever, and we'll get some text. And we're talking about styling that as you would style in Word or Pages or anything else. But as you can see, I've brought to the front here a panel in Affinity Publisher that says Styles. So you may think that is a good place to start. So there's our text. I'm going to make that much bigger, to be honest, so we can actually see it. And you've got this Styles panel, and you can indeed apply, oh dear, don't do it. It's like word art, only worse. These are indeed styles, but they're not the styles that we're talking about. I hope. I mean, you could use these if you wanted to style text on a poster, but 80s disco, dear me. It would look a little bit like word art. So these styles are, I would say, object styles, although they're just called styles. You know, they do work fairly well on objects. So there's an object, and then you apply a style to it. Don't get confused between these styles and text styles. The good thing with these is if you do want to apply something like that to a shape, you can apply the style and the shape still remains editable. So they have a function, obviously. Looks great, doesn't it? But they're not particularly bold, italic, underline and spacing and capitals and fonts. These are, I wouldn't say pixel-based styles, but they are object-based styles is what I would say. Object-based style. So the first thing to think about is don't bother, if it's text you're styling, don't bother with the styles panel, which might seem counterintuitive, but there is a reason why. So let's get rid of that. Interesting point. How do you get rid of that once you've applied it? Very interesting. But you also have a lot of other things in here. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of that. And I'm going to go and get some text. A lot of text so we can see it. Let's do that. So I'm off screen just getting some lorem ipsum. So I'm leaving my lorem ipsum open. If you're wondering, I've just typed that into a search engine and I've got some text. You can go down here, choose a number of paragraphs, 5 will probably do, and then generate it. And there's the text. And then all I need to do is copy and paste. So I've got 4 paragraphs there. And I'm going to go into a text block and put that text into it, which obviously is far too big. So I'll make that much smaller. Not quite that small. 14 will do. Right. So I'm going to take out the spacing that we've got here. We've got an extra carriage return in. This is the bane of my life. You shouldn't really be using carriage returns to put a line between paragraphs. You can do it all with spacing. So before you look at styles, you need to know in here where the style elements are. Now, a style is a recipe. It's a collection of style elements. That's why you need to know about the style elements first. So let's take this first paragraph of text here. Let's zoom in a bit so we can see it. There we go. So I'm going to go in there and select that. So let's say that I would like that to be a different font. So my favourite font for readability is Avenir. Avenir works nice. I like Avenir. Then you can choose the type of the font. So within a font, you can have sub-categorization of it. So you could make that black. You could have it oblique, medium. You could make it very, very light. Doesn't make much difference with this font. You can have it heavy. So not every font has these options available, but if it does, then you can apply that and that can be part of the style. Obviously, next thing is the size of it. And you've seen it's very simple to just choose a different size. I'll leave it at 14. Then you've got more elements. You can make it bold, which if you notice, although I'm pushing the bold button, back here in our font style, it's actually changed it to black. So sometimes when you choose a font, certain fonts will not allow you to apply bold, italic or underline. Just a thing. So I don't particularly need that bold, but you can apply italic, and again, that changes it to book oblique. And when you take the italic off, it changes it back to book. Underline, it should just underline it, but generally keep away from that. Then you can change the colour of it. So obviously, if it's a style you're making, you might want it bright pink. You might. Let's make it more purpley. That's not too bad. Then in here, you have a style. Now, what it's talking about here is a character style. Now, we'll look at the differences with that, but it is a style. Although it's saying no style, it doesn't have any style applied to it already. So what that and this bit here, which is paragraph styles, so there's two different types of styles, it's telling you there's no style actually applied at the moment, which is good. Then you have other elements, yet more elements that can be included in a text style. And that's your alignment, left aligned, centre aligned, right aligned, or fully justified, whatever you want. And you've also got down here whether it's justified all or so basically the last line. What happens to the last line? So we could do fully justified but centre the last line. That looks just weird. So it's a little optional extra, but we'll go for left and keep it all neat and tidy. The next thing we'll look at is slightly different, and we'll look at it in a different context later, but it's whether you want the text top aligned, centre aligned, bottom aligned, or justified vertically. Now, will that make a difference? We bottom align, what's it doing? It's not at the bottom, is it? Or is it? Let's go for middle and see what happens. It moves, doesn't it? But unless we go for top, is it at the bottom? Well, it is actually. What it's doing is within the containing frame. So we've got a gap at the bottom here. So even though I've only selected the first block, if we go into here and choose bottom align, it moves everything within that frame down to the bottom of that frame. You may have seen exactly the same options in other applications because, for instance, Keynote, PowerPoint, they have those options and they are actually quite useful. So I'll give you an example. I will show you in Keynote, which is going to be tricky, but I'll do it anyway. Let's bring Keynote on. Here we go. In Keynote, I have this, don't I? And every week, look, there's my notes. Right, every week we have a different number of elements in this box. But I don't want to start typing at the top and then run out of steam at the Excel point. So this box, when you go into its text, is aligned to the bottom. It's a slightly different looking option, but you can align the text to the top of the box, the middle, or the bottom. And this one's aligned to the bottom, so however many lines of text I've got, it finishes at the same point. So all that you're doing with that option in there is exactly the same. So it's a standard option. It's referring to the entire frame. I'm just going to get rid of that space before it drives me insane. Another one there? No, just the one. And likewise, if you go and centre vertically, it centres all 4 blocks vertically within the block. If you make the block bigger, it stays centred. You make it smaller, it stays centred. That's the idea. And again, that's something that you can put in a style. You can also make bulleted styles and numbered styles. This one here is the gap between paragraphs is what it means. So again, that's something else that can go in a style. So when we think about making a style, it would be because we've created something like this up here. But you know what, just so it's different, I'm going to have that fully justified. You would want to take that style and have it apply to the other 3 paragraphs without the jiggery-pokery of copying and then pasting and fiddling around. So it's available on other pages, even other documents that you make based on this, what could be a template. Because templates are new and shiny, aren't they? And styles are part of templates if you want them to be. So the first thing to understand is all of the options that you have in relation to text. So let's have a look here, because you've also got, in the paragraph panel, you've got all of the same options. So across here we've got the alignments, we've got spacing, if I fold them up, we've got tab stops, we've got justification, we've got flow options. All of these you can turn into a style. You can, not turn them into, you can have settings in there that are contained within a style. So there's loads and loads of things you can do. Drop caps, hyphenation, all sorts, decorations. If you wanted borders around it or something like that, all of that can be part of a style. Now you also have a character panel. And there's no overlap between the two, really. But they can interact together. So in here, you'll see that the character is 14. If you look at the paragraph, there's nothing there telling you what size the font is. That's a character attribute. So a style can be made up of character attributes and paragraph attributes, or you can have a style that is only character and another one that is only paragraph. And that's why at the top you have a style drop down for character styles and another one for paragraph styles. So for instance, let's go and get this third paragraph here, and we'll choose a style that's already there. And there is a body style, and it's very different. It's smaller. So I've applied an entire style to the paragraph. The paragraph has the entire paragraph styled as a body style. If you're wondering why you would bother with different types of styles, why do you need a character style? Well, I probably want consistency within the paragraph, but if we looked at like those few words there, maybe I would want those bold. And for that, there is a character style, which is strong. Now, if my bold was in the body style, the entire paragraph would be bold, and you probably don't want that. So a character style lets you be more granular in applying the settings. So that's why there are two different types of style. Most of the ones we'll be looking at are probably paragraph styles, but be aware character styles have their place. So if I wanted to do instructions or something like that, then I may choose to have some text and I may format that to be red or blue, but I only want it to apply to the word that's highlighted. So a selection of my paragraph. In those circumstances, you use a character style. So you now know that all the attributes that are going to be contained within a style, some of them are available from the top there, which when you're working with your text is all of that stuff there. Other elements are going to be contained within the character panel and yet more within the paragraphs panel. If you can't see the character or the paragraph panel, then you may need to go into View and down to Studio, and you will find them in here. Character, these are alphabetical, and paragraph. So just make sure that they're actually turned on. Okay, so what we've done so far, we've got this lovely purple paragraph. That's what we've got. Now I'm going to just show you how to make a text style, and then I'll show you how to do it the right way. But most people do it this way. They dive in, they format a paragraph, and then they go and make a paragraph style. Well, you know that you do not need to be in styles because they're object styles. What you need to do is have the text styles panel open, which I have. It's on a different screen, but there's my layers and there's my text styles behind them, but you can put them wherever you want. So these panels just rip out and you can either have it independently. Text styles might be a good candidate to put over on this side. So you move from the pages of your document to the text styles. You could have it wherever you want. I tend to keep it here, and normally my screen is much bigger than this and I leave it exactly where you see it there. Unfortunately, you can't dock that in such a way that you've got two columns of them. Another option is to use the extra screen space if you have a second or even three screens, which is what I do. But then when I'm demoing, that doesn't demo well because you can't see it. But here we go. Now at the moment, we've formatted the paragraph, but it's still saying in the text styles, no style and no style. So the first thing to understand in here is what you've got. You have this box at the top that just says ... That will become apparent shortly, but you can open that up and what it will do is tell you every single element. Look at it all. You might think, oh, that just made it purple, but all of that information is making that text look like it looks. So basically, they are the ingredients of your style. This is why, look at it, it's worth making a style. Because if you had to replicate that, all of those settings, and get them absolutely spot on accurate across 2 paragraphs, you'd be there forever. So what you've got in there are the elements of your style. Then you have a list below. Now you have the word base at the top. I'm going to explain that shortly. But then you have your paragraph styles, and each one has the backward facing P, which is a pilcrow, the pilcrow symbol. That's indicating that those styles are paragraph styles. As you move down, you have a handful of styles with an A and an underline. They are character styles. So as I'm hovering over this, it says style type. And what it means is paragraph style or character style. And there are 4 character styles and a good few more paragraph styles. If we go back to these drop downs, oh look, emphasis, strong emphasis, which marry up to the 4 we've got here. No style, and then emphasis, strong emphasis. So what's in this panel is exactly the same as you will find in these drop downs. The drop downs are there just for speed. So as long as you don't have too many paragraph styles, you don't even need to waste space with the text styles panel. You could apply them from the top drop down there. But we've still not created one, have we? It's all right, that's simple. Down at the bottom of the panel, there is a plus button. And in fact, there's 3 of them. The first one is create paragraph style. Then you have create character style. And finally there you have create a group style. So we're going to focus on the first 2 of these. But the paragraph style is when you want to format an entire paragraph. And the character style is when you want to format what you have selected. So the top one that's purple was, in my mind, when I created it, a paragraph style. And those 3 words that were highlighted and in bold, they would be a character style. So we've already made them bold by applying the strong style. But let's say we wanted to draw attention to that. Probably what I would do is change the colour. So let's whip this up here. Yeah, that's sort of, is that red enough? I think we're red enough with that. There we go. So it's bold, but now it's red as well. So back up here where it used to say bold, it's not saying bold now because we've changed it. If we'd have made that bold, it was black bold. As soon as we made it red, it says, okay, that's not just bold. That is bold and something else, but it's not just bold. So we now have 2 areas here that we want to make styles out of. We've got the purple bit at the top and the red bit at the bottom. So I'm going to start with the purple bit at the top and I'm going to select it. And then in the text styles panel, I'm going to hit the plus button to create a paragraph style. Now, it's a hideously long dialogue. But what's in it is every single element that you can include in a style. All broken down for you into different elements. The font, the size, the colour, the position, the language, the optic, oh, you name it, it is in here. All of it. Right, the spacing, the full bit. At the bottom it says style settings, and in there that's the information, exactly the same information we saw up here in the text styles current formatting box. All of that. So although it doesn't look like there's much there, there is. Now I'll highlight just a little bit of it. So the font is Avenir, it is indeed, you saw me do that. The weight's normal, the italics off, etc. Font size was 14. So you saw me style certain elements like that. And to make a style of that, you could just click OK, but don't. Because one of the important things is this at the top, which is the style name. So having a style called style, not the best thing. Now, I'm going to see if you're awake. So wakey, wakey, folks, what's a good name that I could give this style? And if somebody wants to say what a bad name is, feel free. And this applies whether it's in Affinity Publisher, Word, Pages, or anywhere else, any other type of application that you create a style in. When it comes to naming it, what type of thing should you be thinking about? Now, this is something that Mike and I approached a good few years ago when we were working in web design. Because in web design, you used to format as you went. And I'm going back more years than I care to mention. Let me think. When did we do our first web page, Mike? About 1993? Yeah, it was a long time ago. We were mere children, obviously. Schoolmates, weren't we, Mike? Yes. Back then, you just formatted it. There was no... So if you started page 2, you had to go and reformat it. And page 3, reformat it. It was horrible. As time moved on, a concept came along called cascading style sheets. You may have heard of them, called CSS. It means styles on the web. And at that point, we really had to think about what to call style. So Paul's quite right. He says the purpose of the style and maybe the font used. Well, it would be tempting to call this purple body. Back in the day, that's probably what we did. But it's a much better way to think about it, because obviously it's purple at the minute. But when I send it to the client and they say, oh, we've changed our brand colour, we're now green, I'm like, I'm going to be very upset. Because now I've got these styles called purple, I can change the style and that will ripple through. It'll be fabulous. But the style's called purple body. So a better way to do it is to semantically name things. And all that means is name them according to what they do. So what is this paragraph? It's the introduction. Okay. And it's in the body. So how about a body introduction? Now, why not introduction body? And that's because styles in our styles panel are alphabetical. Bullets and body and all kinds of stuff here. So to have them in a nice order, let's just make them alphabetical. So if it's to do with body, it starts with body and then a dash and then explain what it is. So this is my body introduction. Now I'm not going to talk any more and make this any more complicated at this point. Let's just do that. Body introduction. Fine. We now have up here the original body style and our body introduction. Fabulous. That means if I go to another paragraph and I'm not even selecting it, I'm literally just putting I've just clicked my mouse once in it. Nothing is selected. But if I go back to my text styles and click on body introduction, the entire paragraph becomes formatted exactly the same. If I go to the last one, do the same again. Perfect. I don't even have to do it from that. So let's undo that twice. And I'm back in the second paragraph. I could even go up here and choose body introduction, which means I don't need to have the text styles. So far, so good. Having here 14 purple paragraph. That's what I used to do, Kim. And I fast realised not the best approach. It is the best approach for you to know exactly what it looks like. And that's why it's so tempting to do it. If you do have a mismatch between the names, so body introduction doesn't tell you anything, console yourself with the fact that you've described where to use it. You've described what it's for rather than what it looks like. That gives you a lot of flexibility because you could have 5 different templates for 5 different clients, but you're basically making tutorials for them all, but they look branded. They're in their colours, their font, their styles. But every single instance of the introduction to the tutorial is called tutorial intro. And that way it makes it faster for you when you're working across jobs. You're using the same styles, but when you glance up at the screen, one's purple, one's green, doesn't matter. So there are benefits to it, but I do agree with you, it is so tempting to do that because then it just makes it a little bit easier for you that you know which is which. But I would stick to semantically. That's why. So we've made a style and we have applied it in 2 different ways. So we're done, aren't we? Marvellous. Textiles. Not quite. That's really the wrong way to go about doing it. It's better than formatting it by hand, which would be, go get the paragraph at the bottom and then go make it a veneer and then go change the size and then everything else. Oh, horrible. But what I would recommend is that you take a breath, go for a walk, take the dog out and think about your document. And here's why. Right, we have in here, I'm actually going to delete that. So I'm going to, with all of this here, let's apply no style. Let's get rid of it all. I'm going to leave, actually what I will do, I'll show you here with that one, the bit that's red, that if I go and make a character style, It says strong 1. That's because it was strong originally. So I would make that strong. And now I've said red, not the best idea. How about important? Describe what it does. And now I have a character style as well. So down here I have strong, strong important, strong emphasis. So if I go and choose another bit of text and I want to make that style, very, very simple to do. Okay, so far so good. But we're going to wind it right back to the beginning. Now we know what a style is, we're going to do it properly. And this is where you'll save an absolute ton of time. Seriously, you will, honest, believe me. Right. You will open this up and you'll see there's styles already there. We have a heading 1, we have a heading 2. They're already there. We have a line above, a line below, all kinds of stuff. You may or may not need that. There's a drop cap. So if I go to this one here, apply a drop cap, woo, we have a drop cap. You may want them, you may not. What I tend to do when I'm creating a document for somebody else, I'll work with their styles. And they'll make sense. And there is another reason to do that, which is later on we're going to look at putting styles in Scrivener and taking them out to Affinity Publisher. So it'd be good if they were named the same, wouldn't it? So just a thought about naming. But you need to understand that in Affinity Publisher, you have a very special style called base. Now, the base style, if you look at it, there's no symbol next to it. It says base and it's at the top. It's even above no style. Now, if I were to just click in a paragraph where it says no style and click on base, it's not applying it. It doesn't look like it's working, does it? But it is. Right, I'm going to select the whole of this again and make sure we've got no style on it. And I could even, in the character thing, we get rid of that. Right, so we now have all our text. That bottom one looks far too big. They are not all the same size, but we'll make them 14, so they are. So that now has no formatting whatsoever. It's Arial 14, no styles at all. Right, but this base thing, what's going on here? A base style is what all other styles could be based on, hence it being called base. The base style is your friend, but you don't apply it directly. As you've seen, clicking it does no good at all. But over here, you've got apply base to paragraphs, apply, clear all of it, loads of stuff. But what we're interested in is editing it. So let's go in and look at that. It looks exactly the same, doesn't it? It says base and here's all the stuff. It looks identical. Right. If we go down to our character, you can see it's Arial and it's 12. Now, what you need to be thinking of with the base style is, what's the font that's going to be used the most through your document? And if it's something like a book, there'll probably be like a body style that you want. And what other styles would you need? Shout out. You're going to need a body style. You're making a longish article or a book. It's about 20, 30 pages. You're going to have body text. What else would you have in there that you would choose to make a style for? Should be fairly straightforward, that. You shouldn't need much help with this one if you're still awake, because Affinity Publisher has a range of basic, what I would call basic styles that you may choose to use in many, many publications. Let's go back and have a look at them, which I'd need to close that for. All right, in here, we've got body. And you can see as I'm doing this, it's highlighting and showing you what that looks like. So it's a really good way to check it out before you apply it. But you're probably going to want body text. What else would you want? And I don't mean fancy stuff like drop caps. They're lovely, but... Oh, here we go. Titles, footers, chapter headings. Exactly. So you probably would have headings in any kind of document to break it up. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, as many headings as you want. Yep, probably a smaller style for references. Paragraphs is probably going to be your body style. But within your body style, you might want maybe a quote style. So this is a bit like a book I read about programming. Oh, you were all coming in with loads of them now. They are all absolutely spot on. Quotes exactly. I read this book about programming, and it said, right, you've got a group of programmers, 2 groups of programmers, and they've got a huge rock to move. It's a massive, massive rock. You've got 10 days to move it. The first lot start pushing. It doesn't move very far. They need to move it 10 yards, but it's moving at an inch a day. But they're determined to move it, so they just keep pushing. And at the end of the 10 days, they've moved it 10 inches. Fabulous. The other side sit down for 9 days and have a think about it and build a cart. And on the morning of the 10th day, they load it onto the cart and shift it and go over the finish line. Moral of the story? Take time to think about it. Don't just start pushing, because you will save time down the line. So when I'm formatting a document, which I did, and I've got one to show you, I had all of the text in text files. I had all of the graphics in a folder. And Mike said, how far have you got with that document? And I showed him a blank page and he went white. I said, calm down, take a chill pill. I've designed, I formatted the styles, and he looked at me like, and where's the content? No, Mike, it's fine. I know what I'm doing. So you need to be thinking about the format of your document. So the base style, you go into the base style and you make that the most common format in the document, which for me is going to be Avenir, because I love Avenir. So let's go up to, no, not Australia, Avenir. Did I see Avenir there? No, that was Arial. There is Avenir. And my font size, I wanted it to be mainly 14. I don't want it to be as tiny as 12. Right, so I've changed the font family and I've changed the size. I could go as far as I want with that, but what you're doing in the base style is setting the default for the document. And this is important. So we'll do that. Nothing changes at this point because this doesn't have any style applied to it, nor can we apply the style itself. But never mind, because this is what you then do. Let's go into the body style and we'll go and edit that. Right, when you look at the body style, so at the top it says body, look at the next bit, which is based on, and then it says base. This is when you can chain styles together. This is powerful, very, very powerful. So what you're saying with this is the body style is going to be based on the base style. Now, what you then do in here is make exceptions to that. So think back. What size was the base style? I'll help you out. It was 14 points. If I go into the character in here, though, it's set to 12. So if we look at the bottom, now this bit was the bit that had all that text in it. There was pages of it. But all this style says is the base style plus 12 points. So it's nested, it's chained. This style, the look of it is going to depend on the look of the base style. What colour the base style is, what font the base style is. It will all ripple through. Now, I don't actually want this to be 12 points. So in here where it says 12, instead of making it 14, you set it to no change, which means whatever size the style this style is based on is set to. And this is based on base, so it's going to be the base style and no changes whatsoever. It'll be 14 points. Let's see that in action by going back in here and making this something ludicrous like 8. Okay? And then go to one of our paragraphs and apply body. It's tiny. It's the right font, but it's tiny. But if I go back into there and I edit the body style and I say, don't make any changes. Okay. It's back to 14. But the 14 is not coming from the body style, it's coming from the base style. So far, so good. Right, now we then had body introduction, if you remember. And if we apply that, it was purple. So we have body, body introduction. Let's go into body introduction and actually have a look at it. Right, we've got the name of it, body introduction, based on no style. Does that matter? Because it looks right. And this was why I did this and said to you, we've done it, we made a style, fabulous. Now let's do it the right way. We're going to leave this one alone. Okay, body introduction. We're going to make another style. So down here, we will make a body continuation. There you go. Oh no, I know what we'll do. We'll do the quote thing, because you mentioned a quote, didn't you? Let's do a quote thing. We'll make this a quote. Right, if we wanted this to be a quote, what would we want it to actually look like? Well, it would start off as body, wouldn't it? If it was a quote, we would probably want it to be italic. Maybe we'd get adventurous with it. Another thing with a quote, sometimes it's smaller. So we might want it to be just 1 point, maybe 2 points smaller. Something like that. And we might even indent it or other kinds of things. But it's going to be body-quote. So let's go and make the style. Go down to the bottom and make the style. It offers us body 1. It's offering body 1 because it's already got a style in there called body. And that style is already applied to this. So down the bottom, we have body plus italic plus 12. Those were the changes we made. You'll also notice that this is based on body. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. There are other things to think about, but I'm just going to keep it simple at this stage. So change the name body 1 to body quote and OK that. But before I OK that, I'm going to go into the paragraph settings in here. And you see where we've got left indent, right indent? No change. So they're coming from body, but we're going to make a change. Because if you look at what's happening behind, we want to indent that 10 millimeters from the left and 10 millimeters from the right. There we go. And now we've got a quote. Now you can take this as far as you want. If you wanted to stick a decoration on it by enabling decoration and putting it on the left, and moving it over there out of the way a bit and making it thicker. So let's take 1 point up to 4 points. No, 3 points looks about right. There we go. And we'll scale that with object. So what we've done is we've now put a quote on it. If you wanted that, let's move this out of the way, to have that at the other end as well, you can do that. Just go and click it on the right and put a spacing on there of 3 as well. If you want that with a box, guess what? You can do that as well. Put that onto -3 and the other one to -3, and you've now got a box around it. But personally speaking, better with just the right and the left. So let's take the top and the bottom off. So we've now got a quote. In fact, I personally think it looks better without the right one as well. So we've got a quote. Now, you don't have to have that, the colour of the text. If you wanted to highlight the fact that it's a quote, you can have that any colour you like. So, like a blue one there. So we've made some changes, some great changes to that. And click OK, and we've now got a quote. If you wanted to put another quote there, so we'll just take a tiny bit of that text and put it in as another paragraph, which doesn't need 2 of those, it only needs 1, paste it in, click anywhere in it, up here, body introduction, and there we have body quote. And there we go. So far so good, awesome. Now this paragraph here doesn't have any style applied to it. So we could put the body style on that then, couldn't we? And we'll put the body style on the bottom. And now we're starting to build up a document with styles. Right, now let's see where we went wrong initially with that lovely, lovely purple paragraph. Right, we've got the purple paragraph, which is the intro. We've got a quote style. We've got a standard body style. What should we do with this one? Let's make one more. How about body important? Just make it bright red. Just select it, make it bright red. It's going to be a terrible document, isn't it? But never mind. It's principle of the matter. Principle of the matter that applies. That's kind of orangey, but it'll do. It'll do. So we have this style here. Let's make one more, which is going to be body important. Have we already got body important? I don't think we have we? Based on body, that's absolutely fine. And down the bottom it says body style plus a character fill. And although that's all hieroglyphics, it means red. Okay. So we've now got lots of different styles. Have we done it the right way? Short version? No, we've not. And here's why. Send it to the client. Loves the colours. Loves the rainbow of colours. Doesn't like the font. Always one, isn't there? Right, their font is Verdana. So, what do I need to do? Oh, heaven help us. Well, one option is just select the entire lot and choose Verdana. That would work. Right, now it's all Verdana. When will that not work? Why is that a terrible, terrible, terrible idea? Why did it work for me, but it wouldn't work in a real document? Now, that one will get you thinking. It worked for me, but I guarantee you it would not work for a real document. Unless one thing was true, which probably wouldn't be. So have a quick think. Shall I ask Mike? Are you still awake?
Yeah.
He's awake. You any idea what's going on? No, none at all. It's a design app. Mike's an Excel boy. Okay. The reason that's a terrible, terrible idea is you've overridden the style. If you're wondering, oh dear, have I done that inadvertently? If you look at the title of your style up here, there's a plus next to it, and that indicates it's got a style on it of body important, but you've made changes. Be very careful if you make changes after you've applied a style, because the look of it, what you're looking at, might look right to you. But if you were to apply that style somewhere else, it wouldn't look the same. Problem. The other reason, the more important reason that it wouldn't work in a real document, this document has no headings in it. But if I'd put headings in and they were in a different font, me doing my Command and A, select all, make it Verdana, would break everything. So that's why that's not a good idea. So let's undo that. Let's get back to Avenir. Let's fix it properly. The client wants Verdana. I could go into my body style. And you've seen that we can go in there and we can edit it. And I can go into the font and, oh, it says no change. It doesn't say Avenir, it doesn't say Verdana, it doesn't say anything else. Mike does indeed have his own style, Neil. He does. Numeric. Right, the reason it says no change is because altogether now the font is defined at base level. This is good news. This means if I go in and edit this, the base style, and say they don't want Avenir, they want Verdana, woo! The whole thing updates. Or does it? Quick look. Well, the red paragraph did, and the quote did, and the black paragraph in the middle did. That's another quote. That was fine. Top one, oh dear. It's still Avenir. Let's click in it. It's Avenir. That's because that was the first style we created and we did it manually. That style is not based on the base style. And that's why the base style is so incredibly powerful. Get the base style right, everything else just ripples through. It's amazing. So how do we fix that? Because doubtless you will have documents and you will have done just that if you've created a style. It's really simple to fix. You go into the style, and you go to edit body introduction in this case, which is the purple one basically. And instead of defining the font in the style, you choose no change. Now, is that going to work? Let's go back and have a look. Is that Verdana? It might be. How can we be sure it's Verdana and the right font, whether it's Verdana or anything else? You need to go to Style, and you need to look in the General section. What style is this style, body introduction, based on? It's not based on anything. Oh dear. So it won't change then. So although I've said no change, if I click OK, and I go into the base style and I do something really radical with it. So let's choose a wholly different font like Zapfino, right? Which is terrible. It looks like an old manuscript. The top paragraph's still not changing. Even though we said no change, you can make it say no change. Let's go to it now. Now I can't read these things. Was it body? No, it was body introduction. It was this one, wasn't it? Right, edit. You can change the font to no change. It doesn't warn you of like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because this style's not based on any other style. But all we need to do is base it on the base style Click OK, and we fixed the problem that we made by making a style that was an orphaned style. It was a totally independent style from anything else. Sometimes you'll want that, but many, many times you won't. And the power of styles is the power to ripple through what you want and not what you don't want. So in this circumstance, it would probably be wise to go back to the base style and edit that to something that we can actually read. So in the font, change it from Zapfino to... oh, that looks quite nice, Times New Roman. Let's make it Times New Roman. That looks rather nice, doesn't it? Okay. So the base style is critical to getting everything else right. You've actually seen me make a style that's independent. All I did was go and make a style. So let's do that. Let's say down here, I want to put a heading in. So we'll make this a heading level 1. And at the moment, it's formatted in the body style. Now, one thing I could do is just apply a style that's already there, because there's a heading 1 already there. And at the moment, well, let's go and have a look at it. What could we do with that? Let's go and have a look at it. The font family is no change. Okay, before you go any further, click on style. What's it based on? Oh, it's based on the base style. So that font will be whatever you define in the base style, but that's not what I want. In here, I want the font family to be Trajan Pro. And I would like that left aligned. So let's go into our alignment. Where's our alignment gone? I do wish there was a search in here because everything disappears. Optical alignment, typography. It's somewhere in here. I'm at the point where I'm not even going to bother with this. Come on. Alignment. There we go. Let's left align it. So I've now got a heading in there. That style, is it independent of the base style? Well, it certainly looks different, but actually it's not. Go back in and have a look what was actually in there. In the style, it's still based on base, but we've made an exception for the font. So we can change the base style and that font won't change, but it's still based on the base style. So think of the base style at the top of the hierarchy, and I know a lot of you into genealogy. It's the great-great-great-great-grandfather of all the other styles, is what it is. And everything else trickles down from there. Right, what does that mean then in a proper document? Right, let me open a proper document and show you how I hung that together. So let's go into my info pack demo and have a look how the styles were working in here when it's had a good think about it. Right, this was a real document. It was our circle weekend last week. Was it only last week we went? No, it's 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Right, what you've got in here is, let me double click on that one in there. That one's got no style. So I just threw that together from another document. But before long, I realised the error of my ways. And in here, I thought, right, this was the bit where Mike was hyperventilating because this document was pages and pages long, as you can see. 15 pages. And there were none there. Is a style created for a graphic to be added? Not quite sure what you mean there, Deb. You can create styles. Is a style created for a graphic to be added? You can style graphics. Oh, Pete's here. Whoa. What am I catching up tomorrow this time? Styles in Affinity Publisher. Unless you've got rid of that book that you've been doing, Pete. In which case you'll probably want to see the back of Affinity Publisher. But we're looking at a document of mine. And I fast came round to the conclusion I needed styles. So this at the top here has a style there. Heading page, I think it is, something like that. And then everything in here, I defined the body. So let's go in and have a look at the body, edit the body style. There we go. And in there, it's based on the base style. So I've done exactly what I said, but you'll look here with italic off, with a percentage line height and 125%. So I wanted a gap, a larger thing there between each line. So that was why I made it 1.25. So that's got a style on it. The signature's got a style on it. That's a style of signature. Then as we go into it, this one needed a bigger gap, so that was body address. Then these ones here were body. Then I've got a check-in style, which was heading in line with a line above and a line below. Ooh, let's keep going. There was a map. Then there was this one. Same style at the top. Did I put a style on that? I did. That's a heading 2 in line. So everything was styled. This one is a bulleted style. So it's body, but it's got the bulleting turned on. Now, somebody particularly mentioned having problems with bullets. The way I did it was I had some, so let's go get some. Let's just put some text in. Let's put another box in. And in there, you can see we've got a style on it already. So we'll just put heading at the top there. Looks like that's got an underline on it. I have no idea why it would have an underline on it. Let's make it body. And then it wouldn't, would it? Come on, body. Right. So we've just got some text. I'm going to zoom into that so we can actually see it. But let's say I want to make a style of that with a bullet. Now, I could turn bulleting on just by making it a bullet. And then I've got, you know, a heading there. In fact, let's make these items, item 2, and we'll make that item 1. But if I do that, I've only got the body style applied. And at the top, I have a plus telling me, yes, you've got the body style applied, but you've tinkered with it, woman. Whereas what I really need is to turn that on, which is my proper body bulleted. Which means I can just change the font and take the bullets away. So the idea there is this button at the top, and it will give you bullets, is fine, but it's better to control it with a style. So if we go into that one and edit it, all it was the body style with a tab stop, 4mm, and the list style of bullet was turned on. So I basically just took the body style and I turned the bullets on and made it 4mm gap. Now, why is that important? Well, throughout this document, if we look at the body style, in fact, we could probably look at the base style. Yeah. In here, the base style is blue because all of the text in the document that's mine is blue. That's the power of the base style. What if we suddenly rebranded Brooklands? Well, all I'd need to do is to come into here and choose a different colour. So if we were rebranding it to pink, boom, it's pink. In fact, we go into there and we look at that. All of that text is pink. Let's go up to my text up here. That's pink. And that's the power of nesting these styles. Everything that's based on the base style, and obviously these headings, not based on the base style, is now pink. And that's why you've got to think like the programmers and spend 9 days thinking about it and 1 day doing it. So everything in there, including the heading at the top, has gone pink because it was coming from the base style. So Pete's still struggling with the book. Small room publisher. We need small. It's a good idea to start with something relatively small. I mean, this document went out as a PDF. Normally it doesn't. I was glad it did because if you look, it's got 15 pages. And I can't print out 15 pages. It needs to be multiples of 4 because it's A5. So I was sitting here thinking, what am I going to do to fill another page? And then I thought, what are you doing? It's going as a PDF. You can have as many pages as you like. You can even have an odd number of pages. But small documents like this particular document went down really, really well. Every year we do have some kind of guide to our weekend away, but not like this, not where you've got a page with everybody listed and a map to show you the actual rooms. You actually saw our room, didn't you? You saw photos. We were in 451, which was overlooking the lake, which was rather nice. These are the posh rooms overlooking the lake. And these have got patios overlooking the archery, which could be dangerous with Mike. Overlook the golf course. So we sent that out. We got very positive feedback about it. People loved that idea. And there was also a map in there as well, where you could see the entire venue. What fonts are the titles in? It looks cool. Okay. Do you mean these titles at the top, or do you mean... Where's the other one gone? These ones here. Right, which ones? Maldives. Yeah, I've just seen that one, Pete. Yeah, that looked nice. This one at the top is called Australia. There's just one problem with it. It only has letters. So obviously Brooklands 196, bit of an issue, no numbers. But we do like it. We stumbled across that font inadvertently because this time last year we were putting a presentation together, and part of the presentation, it was for a couple who did our job last year. So they did all the work last year. So it was our thank you to them. And they'd been to Australia, and I said to Mike, I want an Australia type font. And this font came up Australia, and I said, I really like that. And we've started using it since, so it's become part of the brand. So the top one is Australia. And this one here, the Archery and Rifles, is Trajan Pro. Trajan Pro is used for like formal things. A place that I've seen it used and I thought it looked absolutely beautiful was at the memorial to the 9/11 victims. The one, I'm not quite sure what it's called now, but I think it's actually at Ground Zero. And it's got all of the names engraved on it. The font they engraved it in was Trajan Pro. So that's that one. But yeah, the top one's Australia. It's a free font. Just search for Australia. And you can't count. Do you know what's worse than the numbers, Neil? There's no punctuation. So seriously, yeah, I said to Mike, oh, the churches would have to be St Anne's, wouldn't they? And St Mary's, couldn't they be All Saints or something? Well, not even All Saints, but let me think. St Margaret Ward. There we go. That would be a good one. Because look what I needed to do. And that didn't change colour. That didn't change colour because it's... Is it a font? Is that a font? Oh, I think it is. I should probably have made a style for that. But you see the problem? That's actually a shape that I had to turn upside down to make it work. So we have St Mary's. We have St Anne's. Most annoying. And then, do we have anything? Yes, here's to family, friendship, faith and fun. And I've got that one in there as well, which is so annoying because we just love the font. But that's what I had to do, work around. So no numbers, no punctuation, which doesn't sound like a big issue. Trust me, it is. It is. But that document worked so well because I started with the base style and then worked forward from there. So hopefully that's enough about the styles to get you going. I don't think I've forgotten anything there. I've actually got a diagram, I think, which will explain it. So let's minimise that, because I've got one more before Mike starts. At this rate, it'll be Tuesday morning. Where did Keynote go? Because Keynote was there and then it started acting up. It seems that my machine's in a bit of a mood, but then when isn't it? Right, did I have that? I did. Awesome. Right. So basically you've got this base style. Make use of the base style. Make the body style based on the base style, and then subsequent styles like body 1, body 2, body 3, maybe important, quote, whatever, base those on the base style too, and it can ripple through. If you've made quite radical changes to the body style, so maybe you've got a base style that's got a font on it that you like, but then you've made radical changes, there's nothing to stop you basing body 3 on body 2 and body 2 on body 1 and body 1 on body. That way madness lies, but you can do it if you want. But the other thing to think about is things like the headings and other styles that are more independent type of styles that are not headings and not body. And the reason that I've laid them out like that is there's nothing to stop you starting from scratch with the headings and basing a heading 1, a heading 2 and a heading 3 on a heading style. And you could base other 1, other 2 and other 3 on a style called other. Nothing to stop you basing the headings and the other styles on the base style as well. Doesn't matter. Completely up to you. Completely up to you. Right, okay then. Next thing. Oh, Scrivener taking your styles to Affinity Publisher. So it is the Scrivener to Affinity Publisher styles workflow. So you need to understand more technical gremlins. There's something wrong with this MacBite. It's possessed. I can either have the hide key working, Command and H, which will hide any application, or I can have the magic 3 keys working, but I can't seem to have them both working together. I even rebooted this week, which doesn't happen often, but I even rebooted, still not playing ball. Just does its own thing. I think it's time for a new Mac. So before we go into this, you need to understand the theory of Scrivener and what we're actually talking about. So Scrivener is a writing application. Affinity Publisher is a layout application. You could, to some degree, format a manuscript in Scrivener, just like you could write something in Affinity Publisher. But generally speaking, the workflow is you create in Scrivener and you lay out in Publisher. That's the idea. That's the ideal workflow, to be honest. The reason that it muddies the waters is, what if you've got styles in Scrivener? Now, why would you have styles in Scrivener? Because they don't want you to have styles in Scrivener. No, no, no. They want you to work in Scrivener in a certain way and then compile your document, and the document gets formatted in the compile process. But what I'm hearing from people is, no, I want it to look in Scrivener like I want it to look in Affinity Publisher. And the guy who writes Scrivener is spinning. Poor guy, poor guy. Now, I'm going to talk about this in relation to version 3 of Scrivener for Mac. Unfortunately, Scrivener 3 for Windows, still no sign on the horizon. The Mac version's been out since November 2017. Because of that, when I talk about compile, I'm talking about compile in version 3. If you're still using version 2 or maybe even version 1, the process of compiling is very different in Scrivener 3. Compiling is all about getting your work into the hands of your audience, hence the photo. Now, the Scrivener 3 compile does have huge improvements over the Scrivener 2. But if you're used to the Scrivener 2 version, you're going to look at Scrivener 3 and run away screaming. It's not that bad. It's exactly the same process. All it is taking your content from Scrivener, running it through the black box that is compile, and then churning out at the end, like a little sausage machine, the same content, but in different formats. You'll notice there's a lot of formats. EPUBs, Kindles, PDFs, final document formats. But there's also intermediate document formats like Final Draft and doc files. You've got a lot of options. But what we're actually looking at, I will have to go through the compile to get it out, but it'll be very simple, so you won't have to break into a sweat. What we're going to be looking at is starting off with what's a style. Now, we've already actually looked at style, so this is just a refresher. A style's a recipe. But I'm talking about styles generally now, because you've already seen there's styles in Affinity Publisher, there's styles in Word, there's styles in Pages, there's styles all over the place. Generically, a style is a grouping of something, like a recipe. The only difference with a style is the ingredients aren't the eggs, the flour and the butter. They're all of the elements of formatting you're familiar with in Scrivener, which includes that lot. You've already, if you've just followed along with the last session, realised that there are paragraph level elements and character level elements. And the elements that can be included within a style do include all of that lot. The paragraph elements only apply to paragraphs. The character elements apply to individual characters within paragraphs. It could be a single character. It could be multiple characters. It could, like I've said, just be a single character within one word. It doesn't matter. There's a lot there. So it's all, if you can imagine setting each one of those every time you have a paragraph, that's why styles are so powerful, because you don't need to do that. How many of those you'll use in your single style is going to depend on your precise requirements, and it's as simple as that. Styles certainly make working faster. But be clear in your mind what we're talking about. In Scrivener, when you make a style, we're talking about when you're editing it. You can, to some degree, get it out during compile, but Scrivener works in two completely different spheres. Scrivener's got the concept that gives its users the most amazing flexibility, and that is you create your work in Scrivener, but then you compile it out and deliver it to your readers. So we're talking, if you're in Scrivener, we're talking about editing until the point that you compile. And that's the bit that we've seen here, this bit here. It's where Scrivener takes its content and pushes it out. Now, the editing part is the process that's inside Scrivener in the first place, which is what I'm saying. And then when the time comes to take your content out, you compile it out. But Scrivener want you to work completely independently. They want you to work in Scrivener for the long hours that you'll be inside Scrivener, staring at the screen, creating the content. They want you to use styles that make sense to you, but particularly, to be honest, no style. So if you look at the top there, let me get my little thing to draw around it, which is there, no style. That is Scrivener's preferred way for you to work. That way you can format that however you want. And at the point of compile, it then looks totally different. So if it makes sense to you, for whatever reason, to work with yellow text on a purple background, you can do while you're editing. But obviously, your final output, you do not want to look like that. For me, I have lots of colour coding like that. So I have stuff that's drawn through, I have stuff in different colours, I have stuff highlighted. My output isn't for direct public consumption. Not very often anyway. Working on a podcast running order in Scrivener, which I do, mine's going to be highlighted to death. And it keeps me on track during recording. So for me, it's a rainbow of colours. Seriously, a rainbow of colours. And it keeps me on track. So my stuff looks like that. Now, the main takeaway here is what you see in the editor does not need to impact the final output, because nothing that you do in terms of formatting in the editor needs to have any impact on your final output. The compile feature in Scrivener is the ultimate in flexibility. Gives you complete control of not only the format it goes to, but the look of the final work. But here's the big but. Erwin's jumping up and down at this point. The big but is, if you're in Scrivener and you want to take it to Affinity Publisher, you've told me what you really want is to have the same formatting in Scrivener as the final output. So what you see in Affinity Publisher. Now let me know in the chat if that is that where you're at? Is that what you want to do? I don't concern myself with that, but I'm reliably informed more than one person does. You want, as near as possible, what's in Scrivener to look like the final thing in Affinity Publisher. Now, you can do that, and luckily it doesn't change anything in terms of how everything works. So I'm going to show you this, but first of all, if you've gone from 2 to 3, you need to understand the difference between a formatting preset, which is a starting point, and a style. There has always been formatting presets in Scrivener, and it was a bugbear to people who started off and they were busy putting stuff in and then realised they wanted to change something. And the 500 pages they've already written, yeah, you're not changing that because it's a starting point. So what that looks like is you've got your formatting preset applied, you make a change to the formatting preset. So at the bottom there's a red square. You change that to blue. Now your formatting preset is blue, but the resulting text is still red because it's only a starting point. And that was the problem that was insurmountable until they added styles. Now a style is automatically updating. So same situation. You applied a style at the beginning. You changed it from red to blue and the resulting text updated. The whole thing updated. Without that in place in Scrivener, the rest would be very, very difficult. So what I'm going to show you is how to take the text formatted as you want it to be formatted in Scrivener and have it updating in Scrivener if that's what you choose to do. Take it out of Scrivener and get it into Affinity Publisher with the same styles and have them editable. Oh, we like tricky. We like tricky. The trick to it is using an intermediate format. You need a format that Scrivener can write to and Affinity Publisher can read from. And that format is either Word or an RTF format. So let's go do it. Let's go and see it done. No, it's still not working. My lovely shortcut not working. Okay, so I'm going to start in Scrivener. That Alfred update is annoying me now. So I have got Scrivener. It's opened up on the other screen for want of a reason, to best known to itself. I'll go into all, and I'm going to start with a completely blank one so I can show you how to make styles. So we'll start completely blank file. We'll put that on the desktop and we'll call it styles. Dear me, if I could spell it'd be dangerous. Right. So this one has very little in it to start with. Let's make that full screen. And have we got our lorem ipsum? What do we have on the clipboard? That'll do nicely. But I will do it even better than that. I will paste it in as plain text. Okay. Right, so we've got some text. You'll notice there is, up here, the box that says no style. You click on that, there are some styles defined. So these are the default styles inside the blank document. So the template that is used to make a blank Scrivener file. These depend on the file that you're in. So they travel with the styles. The styles travel with the file. You can, of course, make templates if you always want standard styles. And you can map these on the way out, but we're keeping things very simple. Right, so the styles that you have, they're just a handful here. You'll notice that we have the Pilcrow symbol again next to 4 of them. And then we have the Pilcrow and an A. So we have the same kind of thing going on here, and then underneath we have character styles. So paragraph styles, character styles, and we have a couple of hybrid styles in here that have both in, which is looking hopeful. Because we already have seen in the last session that at the Affinity Publisher end, Affinity Publisher supports paragraph styles and character styles. So far, so good. Right, in here, let's put a heading in. So, heading. And in here, you can apply a style, and it now has a heading. This still has no style, and as I'm saying, that's their preference. Scrivener would like you to work like that. I'll be the first to admit I don't always work like that. I've created a paragraph style. The reason I created a paragraph style was it was to export emails. Let's open that up. Not in there. Oh, that'll actually do. If we go into recent documents and we look at the email generator. The magic beans that get sent out to you. There are the magic beans. So this one was the mail that went out to my VIP list on Friday morning. All right. You'll see here that I've got something highlighted. Well, guess what? In the final email, it's highlighted. And then I've got this bit here that says check the time where you are, and that's highlighted in green. But in the email, go and have a look at it if you're on the list. It wasn't green. Then I've got what we're doing, and that's formatted with a heading 3 at the top. Then I've got some text that's in blue. Who knows what that looks like? Why is it in blue? In the email, it's not blue. I've made it blue for a particular reason. And if you've seen the email, you will know that's a bulleted list. If I click in it, it says an unordered list, a bulleted list. So I actually use styles, and all of my text here, if I click in it, has a paragraph style on it. The reason is when I compile, it's going out to an email. And I need all of these formatted correctly. So I use styles to get it out and make an email. I haven't got that email to hand, but what I'll do is I'll actually export it right now, live. VIP mail. Compile. We'll open it up in Firefox. We'll stick that on the desktop. That'll do nicely. And it will actually open up in Firefox somewhere. There is Firefox. Oh, it was in green. It was in green. I didn't think it was. But bullets, not blue. Not blue. So that's where I use styles. If I hadn't have applied paragraph styles around these individual paragraphs, everything would have run together. Okay, so I'm using styles too. I'm using it in a slightly different way, but there's an example with styles in it. So let's go back to our other document where we're going to create some magic slides. And it's having a rare old think about it while it tries and backs that up. Why is it getting upset with itself? There we go. Okay, so we've got a style. We have a heading 1. And then we have this one, which has no style at all. Now, if you want that in... We'll duplicate this as well because I'm going to need more paragraphs. So let's stick a couple of those in. But if you want that when you go into Affinity Publisher to be my favourite, a veneer, make a style. Now, which style? Could it be the body style? It probably would be, wouldn't it, if you think about it? I'm going to make it body because there's a bit of an issue, and if I make it body, I'll be able to show you what the issue is and fix it. But in the meanwhile, I'll put another one here, and that will be a level 2 heading. So we'll make that a level 1 heading. So this one here, do we have a heading 2? We do. So we can make it like that. Not particularly what I want it to look like, but it'll do. And then we don't have in here a body style, because they don't want you to use one, but that doesn't stop you. So what I'd like to do in here is highlight my text and format it the way you would like it to look. So I would like it to be my favourite Avenir. 14's absolutely fine. So really, that's it. That's all I really need to do with it. I actually think it would look better if I had a bit more space. So that's how I tend to work in here. This is far too claustrophobic for me. So I've got the text looking like I want it to look. The next step is to go into the Styles drop-down and click Show Styles Panel, which will open up the Styles panel over here. And from there, you can create styles. So hit the plus at the bottom and name the style. And I want this to be the body style. You can apply a shortcut. There are only 9 of them, so apply cautiously. But I won't bother with the body style. You can choose whether you have all the formatting or not. I'll say yes, so I want you to include the font family, and I want the font size as well. I don't particularly want anything drawn around it, so leaving that alone. And then what do you want for the next style? When you press enter, what style should be applied? And the default's none. But it would make sense if each paragraph was a body style. So apply that. And that's it. So when I press enter now, it's still body at the top up here. Still saying body. And then I can put in more text. So I'm going to copy and paste that in. But I'm pasting as plain text, so I'm getting the body style. And up here, I just need to click in the paragraph and make that a body style. So far, so good. Now, we also had last time, didn't we, like a quote. So let's just put some text in and put a quote in. And let's say for that quote, I would like that to be a different colour. So let's make the quote a nice blue colour. And let's make it, make it italic as well while we're at it. So there's a nice quote. I don't need bullets or anything else. That'll do. That'll do. So I'll go and make another style. So this is my body quote style. So you'll see I'm using pretty much the same naming conventions as before. Next style. Well, if I quote, the odds are it'll be a single paragraph. So it would make sense for the next paragraph to be the body paragraph. So that creates a chain of styles. To prove that point, let's go down here, put in another quote. So a second quote, put that in. It's in the body format. But if I apply my body quote to it, and at the end, so notice at the top, body quote, but at the end, I press enter, it's gone back to body, because I told it to. And then I would put in more body text, although it's kept the colour. That's not good. That it shouldn't be doing. It should go back to body, and it should be black. Curious. Right, let's get that in. There we go. So, I've got in here my heading 1, my heading 2, what else have I got? My body quote and body. What I will do is put some make in there. We'll make that red and we'll make it bold, just like we did in the last one. That, because it's only applying to some text, we'll make that in there. We want to make that a character style. So let's add that. And just the character attributes I want. Just the character attributes. And that one is going to be body important. Okay, so that's how you work with the styles in Scrivener. I'm going to show you something at the end when I do the wrap up. There's a lot more to styles in Scrivener, but that's the basics to get you going. You can create styles, and once you understand styles in one application, you will understand them in them all, I promise. Right, so at that point, we need to compile it. So up on File, down to Compile. Where have I gone? Where have I gone? Where's my file compile? I always use the shortcut. But it is file compile. Right. You've got all of these options, and sometimes you've got even more. You noticed I actually had a whole range of my own custom ones, but you do not need to worry about it. Default is fine. In the compile for, choose Word, docx. That's it, you're done. Make sure over here you've got the right bit selected, which is in the draft, and I've just got this text here, so I've only got one scrivening, but just make sure the right stuff's selected, and then compile. And I'll stick that on the desktop, and we'll call it styles. Now, the default was to open it in Word, so it's converting it right now, which you can see file converter at the top. It will then go into Word. At some point, Word may open in my lifetime, never know. Oh, Word's open. There we go. Now you can see here you've got complete fidelity with what it looked like in your editor. Your level 1 heading, your body text, your character style, your level 2 heading, more body text, your quote, more body text, another quote, more body text. There we go. Now, in Word, it's not just exported that and thrown it out and said, well, it looks right, that'll do. If you go into your styles pane in Word, you can actually see in here all the styles you created. There's the body style, the body important style, the body quote, and the 2 headings. So far, so good. We've got the styles defined correctly in Scrivener. We have compiled it out to Word, and the styles are intact. The look of them and the names of them. So far, so good. So I'm going to close down that Word file and minimise the Scrivener file. And go get Affinity Publisher. Right, so we need a new file in here. I'll make it A4. And all I need in here, I don't even need to do anything at this stage. Obviously, you may be putting this into a pre-formatted document. So if that information was relevant in here, I'd be importing it into here. But I'm going to put it into this new document. It's as simple as going to File, Place. And then on the desktop, you can see, oh, it's flicked back again. That's just my machine. It's possessed. If a file is readable by Affinity Publisher, you'll see it's lit up and you can select it. If it's not, like that Scrivener file, you can't select it. But the Word file, Scrivener, Affinity Publisher knows it can read it. So select it and click Open. It loads it into your cursor. So now I've got, can we zoom into that? Oh, we sort of can a bit. It's giving us a preview if I do that. But you can see it's loaded in. And all I need to do is draw out a text box. Now, what's actually come in is perfect. The heading looks right. The body text looks right. This highlight looks right. The heading 2 looks right. And the quote looks right. Let's make sure. So over here. This one's called Body 1. Well, it wasn't called Body 1 on the way in, was it? The reason it's called Body 1 is, remember me mentioning that the default in Affinity Publisher, it already has a body style. Oh no! What to do now? Well, the right thing to do, the easy thing to do, would have been to delete it before we imported it. But we didn't. So how do we fix it in those circumstances? Couldn't be easier. Go and delete the body style. So delete body. It's gone. That leaves us with Body 1. Go into Body 1 and edit it. Don't make any changes, just change the name to Body. That's presupposing you've got no nested style set up in here, obviously. If you do, then do it the other way. But now we've got Body, and when I go down to these, it's saying that it's formatted with the body style. If I go into the body quote, we have a body quote style. If I go up to the bit that's important, not only is it body, but I move down to here and I have a character style called body important. So everything that I had in Scrivener has come through to Affinity Publisher. And Pete's back. I hope what called wasn't nasty. My poor mind's boggling. Not medical. Don't do medical. So I hope it wasn't nasty. You can always watch on catch up, Pete. But the good news is what you've got in Scrivener can come through. The even better news is if what you've got in Scrivener isn't what you want to come through, so yeah, now I've seen that red, it's hideous, it should be green, it's a style. So let's say we decide that the level 2 heading should be green, then that's simple. Now, let's say you obviously that makes more sense if you've got more than one of them. So let's put in a heading level 2 there and make sure that that is indeed a heading level 2. Are you that one or are you this one? Oh, you are a heading with a lower case. Need to fix that as well. But this is the one that I imported. You can, of course, in fact, it's easier than that. With that selected, just go and change the colour into a nice green. Obviously, that only is applying to one, but in there, select your heading, say update it, and your level 2 is updated. So if you bring it in and then change your mind, you can still edit it. So the trick to doing it is bringing it in via the intermediate format of Word to get it in. So don't try opening the Word file and all of that. Just place the content of the Word file. And it couldn't be easier. So Pete's just walked back in and it's easy. Fantastic. Okay, let's close that and let's get back to where I was over there. I think I did an explanation. Yes, I did. Which was, you're in Scrivener, you've taken the time to define the styles that you want in your finished output, wherever that may be, but in this case it's Affinity Publisher. And you need to go via Word to actually do it, which brings into play another question. We're only using Word as an intermediate format. The question is, do we need Word? No, you do not need. The excellent news is you do not need to own, use or download the trial of Word. It doesn't matter. You're only using the file format and you do not need it on your machine to make that work. You're only using it as a little wrapper around the content from Scrivener to transfer it to Affinity Publisher in a format it understands. That's it. Now, if it's Scrivener that you're interested in, there's good news. There's more Scrivener. I think I put the links in for Mike to make it easy. But you never know. It's on YouTube. It is available to watch on YouTube. It is a whole session. I think it was an hour and something. That's it on YouTube. An hour 47 minutes of all the new features. But if it's specifically styles that you're interested in, I have you covered. There is a course, an entire course on Udemy that I made. It's one of mine. And it's all about styles. It saved time by automating formatting with styles in Scrivener. So that is an hour 26, and it's nothing else but styles. People seem to like it, 4.5 ratings. It starts with what a style is, which I showed you tonight. It then goes on to how styles are implemented inside Scrivener, and then complete mastery of them, applying them, editing custom ones, creating custom, updating, removing, navigating, you name it. I even show you how to take entire style libraries from one Scrivener file to another. So that's a course that's available by me on Udemy. Mike will find the link for that and put it in there. I think I did put it in Notion. Oh, I'm bad. I didn't. I put it in here, though. But it's all right. Mike will find it anyway. Right, let's go into the freebies and then we're handing over to Mike. Right, good freebies. It's a complete course on JavaScript this week from Envato Tuts Plus. So it is a whole thing. There's lots and lots of lectures in there, 18, and it's almost 2 hours long. So if you want to know anything about JavaScript, there's that free course available for you. Now, we always used to take a look at Creative Market, and the reason that I'm mentioning Creative Market today is the... where's it gone? Ooh, I'm thinking that's not the right thing at all. No, it's this one that I want to talk about, which is called Montis, and it's only available until Sunday night, so tomorrow night. But this is an InDesign file. And of course, Affinity Publisher can read InDesign files, can't it? So you can get your hands on that completely free. It's very high quality, and use it in Affinity Publisher. I've opened it, I've looked at it, it works. It's fabulous. But that was from Creative Market, that one was. Oh, and I had a bonus that only came through today, which is from Envato Marketplace, which is, I've probably didn't put the link for that in either, Mike. I'll sort this out. 3 free WordPress themes. These are usually £65 each, which is pretty hefty, isn't it? One of them is particularly for photographers, and I know we have a lot of photographers watching. So as you see, $39, $60 odd, $59. So that's the photography one. Foti. Oh, I managed to get that link in. Very well done, me. Very well done. So they're free, again, not for long. Get them while they're hot. Right, let's hand over to Mike and his cylinder charts. But to do that, of course, I've got to get out of here, which is proving problematic. Okay, I've got Mike. So first of all, I'll transfer you to his screen. There's Excel on his screen, and then we'll do the audio magic. And Mike can talk to you all. Right. Do you want to say hello, Mike?
Mary had a little lamb.
Bit warm. I'll turn you down a bit. Try again.
Mary had a little lamb.
Hang on. I think I'm turning the wrong cake.
Mary still had a little lamb.
Hey, I think that's about right.
Right.
That's about right. Let me know.
Shall I make a start then?
I'm hoping everybody can hear you. I'm sure someone's going to tell me if they can hear you.
I'm sure they will.
I can nip off.
Right. Okay, today I'm going to look at cylinder charts, which are similar to column charts or bar charts, but use a cylinder rather than a rectangle. Now, they work on the Mac as well as Windows, but I'm using Windows here. And since 2013, you can actually no longer create cylinder charts or cone charts or pyramid charts directly. So what I mean is there isn't a chart type. There is a workaround, and what you do is you insert a 3D rectangle chart and then you change the shape after you've inserted it, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here I've got a spreadsheet that you have seen before. Best day for a webinar. I use this in another example. And it's basically the results of a survey. So I'm going to start by selecting that data and then inserting a 3D clustered column chart. So you can see my 3D column charts are here, and I'm going to go for the 3D clustered column chart. I can make it bigger if I want to. So that is showing us the number of people who have responded to the survey, who have decided that a certain day is best for them for training delivery. If I then right click on one of those bars, I get a menu popping up. I want to go down to Format Data Series. And the Data Series panel has got 3 sections in it. And if you look at the third section, as well as gap width and gap depth, which we've looked at before, you've now got column shape. And this is the workaround that I've just been talking about. So you can have a pyramid chart, or you can have a cone chart, but we're looking at cylinder chart. Okay, so it's just a case of choosing cylinder. If you alter the gap width, make it a smaller number, that reduces the gap between the cylinders. And if you alter the gap depth and make that smaller, that also alters the depth of the chart. So if I make it a really large number, you can see it's quite a deep chart from a 3-dimensional point of view. Make it a lot smaller and it's not as deep. So something like that. Now close that. Then if you want to change the title, just as a reminder, you can do this on most chart types. Select the chart title, click in the formula bar, type an equals, and select the chart title. If you want to change the bar colors, do that in the usual way. Select the bars and then go up to Format and Shape Fill and choose the color that you want to use. And if you want to just change the fill of one of those cylinders, do 2 clicks on that particular cylinder and then go and choose the color you want. for the shape fill. So that's the first example of a cylinder chart. So it's really a bar chart or a column chart, but using cylinders instead of columns. Let's look at another example. So what I've done here is I've created a standard simple chart that is showing us the office names. So the data from column, so data from row 3, and we want that to be on the horizontal axis there. And then the bars are going to have a certain height based on the values from row 10. So when I built this chart, I selected B, C, and D row 3, and I held the control key down and selected B, C, and D row 10, and that gives me non-consecutive selection. Do I see any questions? No, there aren't. Oh, apart from when's Mary's lamb going to grow up?
But I explained thyroid disorder.
Ah, right, okay. Maybe I should do a spreadsheet on lambs.
Oh yes, with mint sauce.
Yes. Just
Yeah,
like we did. I was just about to say that. Anyway, let's get back to this. I'm going to change the chart type. So typically somebody has built this chart and we want to change it into a cylinder chart. I could start from scratch, but I can actually change it. So what I'll do is I'll right click on one of the bars and go to Format Data Series. And actually, before I do that, I need to change the whole chart type. So with the chart selected, I'll go up to Chart Design, Change Chart Type, and I will make it a bar chart, I think, for this one. But I'm going to make it a 3D bar chart. I'm actually going to make it a stacked bar chart. So this is where you have the bars not next to each other, but stacked one on top of each other, but side by side, because it's the column chart twisted 90 degrees. But I'm going to go for the percentage one, which will become clear why shortly, rather than the actual values one. So choose that one there, click OK. With that then selected, I will right click and Format Data Series and make it a cone chart. Sorry, not a cone chart, cylinder chart. I'll also change the gap width, make it quite small, and change the gap depth. So you can play around with these until you've got what you want. With that selected, there's a few more changes I want to make as well. If I click the plus sign, which we've talked about a few times over the last few weeks, that lets you add and remove certain elements. If I click on that little triangle there next to axes, I can choose to remove the horizontal axes. I will also remove the primary vertical. I want to get rid of those and remove the grid lines. And the chart as I want it is beginning to take shape. I make it a little bit bigger. Then I've got it the size that I want it. Also, what you can do is if you right click on the chart, anywhere on the chart, you can either be on the actual chart or even just in the white area, you've got this option for 3D rotation. And I've got various things I can do. So again, play around with these to get what you want. But what I did is I set the X rotation, I think I set it to 150. And I set the Y rotation to 10. I think I set it to. And you can also change the perspective. Again, it's just a case of playing around with the settings until you get what you want. Okay, let's close that panel down. You can change the colors of the individual elements just by selecting on the appropriate element. You can see the selector icons, or the selector handles as they're called, come up, and then format, shape fill, and choose whatever color you want for that particular one. Shape outline, shape fill. There we go. Okay. You can also change the data labels and set the data labels, because what I'd want to do is I'd want to show this as 32%, well that's 51%, that as 32%, and that is 17%. You can actually see as I click on them which one it's selecting. So to do that, I first of all need to add my data labels. But then if I go to more options, you can just about see, if you actually look quite closely, it's only put the data label on that one. So if I go to more options, I want the data label to be the value. So what I will do with that is I will bring it down to there. So literally just drag it down, but I don't want the leader lines. So let's add that to that one there. Is it that one? No, I think it's that one, isn't it? So then you actually have to do these one at a time. So add data labels, then bring that one down, and then add data labels. Okay, right click, format data labels, and don't show the leader lines. You would do that for all of the data labels. If you want to make those bigger, you can make those bigger. Okay, so there is another example of a cylinder chart. And the third and last example I'll do. Imagine that you've got a set of numbers like this, which are reducing as you go down. So this one happens to be the replacement program for our CEO. So we're showing that we got 50 applications. Out of those 50 applications, we shortlisted 35. 25 people cleared the first interview, and then we shortlisted 20 for the second interview. And then we cleared 10 people got cleared for the second interview, and then we had a final selection of 3. So that's one example of where you can, as I'll show you in a second, use a cylinder chart. There's actually another option you can use, which is called a funnel chart. So I'll show you how that works. But another example where you might use this kind of data would be where you're showing sales. And what I mean by that is not sales per month or anything like that, but you might have sent out an email to 5,000 people. Out of those 5,000 people, 2,000 reply. Out of those 2,000 that reply, 1,000 take your free trial. Out of the 1,000 that take the free trial, 500 actually buy the product. So it's what in marketing is called a sales funnel, but it could be used for any number of other applications as well. But if I select those cells there, go to insert and add a funnel chart, which you will find under this icon here. There is my funnel chart. So you can see, and I can turn those numbers off if I want to. I can change the colors, change the title, change those headings, but it's showing you how something starts with a lot and ends with a few. So that's one way of presenting this data. Let me show you another way of presenting that same data. Get rid of that chart, and I'll do it with a cylinder chart. Okay, so selecting the data A3 to B8, then create a chart, and I'm going to create a 3D stacked bar chart, which is that one there, 3D stacked bar. Problem you've got is that by default, it's showing the vertical axis as the items from column A, and each bar is representing the numbers from column B. But if I click on switch row column, it's now changed the way that it's displaying the data. Then I can do what I showed you before, which was to format data series and make it cylinder. I can then get rid of things like the grid lines, get rid of the axes, and I can then go and put on my data labels, and I've got a cylinder chart. So that is it. Quite a simple thing from me tonight of just showing how to create a cylinder chart. It's one of those things that is not probably the most popular type of chart, but I have been asked how to create it on a number of occasions. I've needed to create one myself on a number of occasions, and it's not as intuitive as you might expect because Microsoft have actually removed that feature and you're now relying on a workaround. So, do we have any questions? No, we're just talking about toilet paper now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you realise how important that is?
Yes. Fine, I'll hand back to you then. And you can talk about toilet paper.
I'm more than happy to talk about toilet paper. Oh, the world's gone mad, hasn't it? But you know, it shows you how important toilet paper is in people's minds. What I couldn't fathom is, because I said to you, make sure we've got enough tissues. That made far more sense than toilet paper to me. But you know, what do people know? Right, I will get back to my iMac so you can see my screen. Okay, you can go and do whatever it was you were doing, Mike, that you wouldn't want anybody to know. Oh, good grief, Australia changes at a different time. We're talking about when the clocks go back. Do you remember the disaster when everyone thought we were late and we weren't because they were early? We need to mention that in the newsletter. Better mark that down as an action item, Mike, or I'm going to totally forget.
No, you're not, because I know.
Oh, you mean you're doing the work?
Yeah, if you give me script.
Nah. Right, okay, so back to me. Designing planner pages. Now, this was only requested last week. You don't get much faster than that, do you? Just
check if Johnny I's still awake.
Klaxon for Isaacs.
Because he said this was the bit he was interested in.
I know, but he'll watch on catch-up if not. But it's this Saturday, though. He might be awake. You never know. Don't underestimate the Isaacs. This was only mentioned last week, and it was only because I mentioned it in passing, which was I'd done my own planner pages. I didn't actually intend to print them out. What I did with them was I put them digitally as PDFs, and then I imported them into GoodNotes. And I do believe you can do that with Notability. Shame Graham's not here, because Graham uses that. Anybody use Notability? I don't think I've done... You can take PDFs into Notability. I know you can do that. The way it works in Goodreader is it actually becomes a page that Goodreader will just add automatically. So that's what I do with them digitally, but they would more than happily print out. There's tricks to it, as ever. So let's go in and have a look at that. There's always tricks to it. Right, one of them... Let me see, how am I going to start this? Let's go into Publisher. Right, Publisher's a really good place to start. And Publisher's a good place to start because it has a certain tool in it that is not available in Photo or Designer. But remember, if you need to do something in Designer or Photo, you've got Studio Link and you can just painlessly transfer between them. So Publisher's a good place to start if you've got it. If you don't, you can create these in Designer because some of these started life in Designer. So the first thing to think about is what size you want the pages. Now, if they're for printing out, logic would tell me you're probably not carrying A3 around with you, but maybe A4, maybe A5. Now, in terms of planners, you may have smaller than that. Who's using an old-style Filofax? I had one of those. Proper little thing. Don't know what the size of that is. I could measure it, but I don't know what the name of it is, but Filofax sized. What I used to do with that, I printed my own pages out even then. I need to get my Filofax out. I think it's in the bottom drawer, Mike. Still have mine. What I used to do was I bought pages and I printed them out on a dot matrix printer that had those wheelie ratchet things on the top to pull the pages through. And I actually bought a load of paper like that was perforated at the edge. You used to have this. Yeah, there are people here. Like Johnny's thinking, what? The paper was perforated at the edges, and just like a toilet roll, back to the toilet rolls, you had to peel off the sides. It was unbelievable. But that was what I did, and I printed them out, and they fitted my Filofax. They were all the holes were there, the lot. It was amazing. These days, most things work either A5 or A4. The exception to that would be, maybe you want to go into devices if you want it to work digitally. So if your iPad is a Retina 11 inch, maybe you want to start at that size, or a 10.5 or a 9.7. So you could make it the size of your device. Mike and I spent hours working this out for GoodNotes. And in the end decided, you know what, whatever. We just went back to doing it for print on the basis you can always zoom in and out digitally. And if you did want to print it, just make it A5 or A4. That was what we did. So the majority of mine are A5 because I have an ARC notebook. We've discussed ARC notebooks before. They're still available in the States. Sadly, the price is probably just fractionally less than a toilet roll here because Staples went bust and the company who took them over have also shut up shop. So it's very difficult to get hold of an ARC notebook here. Luckily, I have one ARC notebook and I have the hole punch. So I'm going to go for A5 on that basis, but I would use these digitally as A5 and physically as A5. So the thing to think about at this stage in this dialog box, which is where you're starting with a preset, I want the size to be A5, but I need to think over here, how am I laying these out? If it's for notes, odds are I'm going to go portrait. But you may want these to be landscape if what you're printing is maybe, I used to do this, I used to track my bank account. Used to put in every check that I wrote. And I wanted that to be landscape. So that's your first decision over here. Second thing to think about is your image placement policy. That's what to do with the graphics. Either embed them in this file or put them somewhere else. Now you might be thinking you're designing it, there's no graphics, but there's going to be graphics. So I'm going to have them embedded. Then you need to think about number of pages you want. Now you may just be making the one page and then duplicating it. Alternatively, you may be making every diary page for January, in which case you're going to want 31. So something to think about. Also, the facing pages. I think in here you're not going to need the facing pages if you think about it. Not for these. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Just going to depend. I'm going to say no to facing pages. What else have we got? Colour formats, any margins. Now, obviously a margin of 1 inch and more than 1 inch is far too much. So I would tend to change the margins to something like 10 millimetres, which is just under ½ an inch. I'm not going to need a bleed because I'm not going to have it professionally printed. And then just hit create. And that gives me an A5 page ready to roll. Now, from this point, next thing to think about is where you're going to get your layout inspiration from. And the good news is, you just go to Google and you just type in planner page samples, and you will get more than you ever wanted in the image search. All of them. And you'll probably look at them and think, oh, that one looks nice, that one looks nice, oh, I could have that one. So that's not one that's printed, but that's one that's been bought and then filled in. If you wanted a page that looked identical to that, you could do it. So anything that you see here, you could pretty much do. It's going to depend on what you actually do want it to look like. If that one's got homework on, something that's noteworthy, feed the dog, student planners, these fancy planners, hence the graphics, or something more standard. That one looks very similar to a Franklin Covey plan, which has got months on it, top and bottom as well. So this is where you get your inspiration from. Well, here in Pinterest. You may want them brightly coloured. Wedding planner. Oh, well, who's got the time? Focus today. So just look through these. You may have a design that you definitely want, but if not, you could waste happy hours going through these with whatever you wanted. So that's what I do. Just sort of look through what's nearly there, and then I'll use it for a month and then think, no, that's not what I need. I need this there and I need that there. So that's what I do for inspiration. Once you've sorted that out, then you're back in here and you need to up your game and get it going. So the ones that I thought I'd create were a schedule and a diary, and it would have been nice if they were dated. That would be nice. So what I actually did, I actually had a file that I opened earlier. A very simple page was that one, which was just a Cornell Notes page. I'm just having a quick look here. Yeah, that was... Did I close it down? I think I did. I need to see my layers. And I closed it. There we go. There's my layers. Right. That one's relatively straightforward. How do you eliminate a style? Okay, I didn't actually show deleting a style, did I? Let's go into the Elveston pack. Right, slight detour where we look at a style. So view, studio, text styles. There we go. There's your text styles. So in that example there, we had, what could we delete? Let's just delete that heading 2 one there because we're not using it. All you need to do is click the drop down, and in here you have, is there a delete? Out the way. There you go, right at the bottom, delete heading 2, and you just delete it. Simple as that. There may be implications of doing that, Tracy. If you are on catch up, I don't know which point you're at, but the implications are if you delete a style and it's in the middle of a chain, I wouldn't do that. But that's why you need to spend the 9 days thinking about it and the 1 day working. Get the styles right in your head first. But if you've got styles in there, like I'm never going to use that drop cap in there, then just go down and delete them. And that makes it easier to work in here because you've got like this optical alignment. Let's lose that one. If you're never going to use it, you might as well delete it. And it'll make working easy because then you can see all of your styles without having to scroll. So simple as that to delete it. Right, so my Cornell notes in here. That one was relatively straightforward to do. I don't know if you're familiar with the Cornell notes, but basically you write the title across the top, the date and your page number. And then the first column is where you ask questions, but you actually take notes in the second column. So this bit here is where you primarily put your notes. Then you process your notes and ask questions of yourself. And those questions go in here in the relevant place. So if over here you've got some notes and you want to ask a question of that, you put the question over there, and then you've got more notes down there and you put the question next to that, and so forth. This bit at the bottom is where, when you've been through your notes and you've asked your questions, you then put the summary in there. So you summarize the whole thing down into there. So literally just a few lines summarising, this shows you X, Y and Z. That's a Cornell note. Would that my notes had looked like that at university. Slightly not. They would have done if I'd have known. So I use that for taking notes in meetings. So I put the main body of it on the right hand side, and then any notes that I want to make in relation to a topic I put in the left hand side. I also put numbers on the left hand side as well. And then at the bottom, anything that I've missed out, rather than try and squeeze it in. So that's what I do with that one. The other one that I had, and this one was created first, was this one, which has quite a lot in it. So let's go to January. There we go. That one looks far more like a standard planner. And that one was the one that I used. I used it digitally. And I gave it to Mike as well. But here's the thing. That one, not totally put together in the best way. So I'm going to do that, which shows you that you can see the layout. You've got the box at the top. You've got the month. You've got your daily goals that you would then scribble down into the box. You've got your morning routine, afternoon routine, evening routine. So put check in the box when you've done it. You've got room down here, scope, if you want to put something in it for a key. A lot of people in bullet journaling use a range of different symbols in the box on the left. So you could make that smaller and do that with it. But what did I do wrong? Because it looks all right, doesn't it? Doesn't look bad at all. You'll notice that my day goes up to 11 at night. And it doesn't start at 6, I can assure you. Like, I'm not seeing much before 11. That's because I work American time, so I'm well working past midnight. But what did I do wrong with that? Because it doesn't look bad, does it? What did I do wrong with it? Well, as we went into it, did I redo it? Let me have a look. Oh, I actually did it right by putting it on a master. There was my master. Was that where it went wrong? I'm having a look what I did, because I know it went wrong. I absolutely know it went wrong. Yes, it did. Oh my, look at this. This started life in Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer lacks a certain tool. So each one of these things, if I double click on it like this, oh, each one's a line. Beautifully spread out, but each one's a line. There was no alternative when I made this, in my defence. It was pre-Affinity Publisher, which meant the missing tool was all shout out. Now, no table tool. So I had to do it with lines. That was a very bad idea. On the upside, you can see in here, there's just so many layers and layers and layers and layers. It's dreadful. I did put it on a master page, which means I only needed to do it once. At least I only needed to do it once, and you can see that they're dated. But what I thought would be a good thing would be to replicate that and do it right this time. That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? So 2 fairly simple ones. That one's very simple. That one's a little bit more difficult, but let's replicate the 2. So we had a new file somewhere, didn't we? There we go. So let's do that Cornell one. All right. Easiest way to do that. Have a look at it. Well, we do have a table tool, thankfully. So there's a good start. Table tool. You see, as I click into it, that's a table. I do have in there text at the top, so need to be thinking about that, how to get that in the right place. And I've got odd lines as well. But it shouldn't be too difficult, is the good news. Right, table tool. Let's drag a table out. With a table, you drag, and the more you drag, the more columns you get, and the more rows you get, which might not be what you want, but you might want it to fill the page. So actually, with that, I may only want 2 columns. But if I try and get it to fill it, I start getting more columns. Don't worry about any of that. Just drag it to the point you've got the right number of columns and ballpark a reasonable number of rows, and worry about it later. Because you can add in here extra ones and take them away. And you can do that for the rows as well. So take it up or take it down. Okay. Now, I'm going to just show you with this table before I actually do it properly, what you can do with it. So let's get some more rows. Let's add some more rows in, columns rather. Let's add a couple of columns. Let's say what I wanted to build was something like a habit tracker. To build a habit tracker, you might want 31 days, or you might have 31 days going down with the things you're tracking. It depends. But you're going to probably, let's make a few more columns with that, I think. That'll do. Right. 8 will be fine. You need them to be square, basically, if you think about it. This also works for graph paper, if you want to make your own graph paper. And the good news is, over here, you have a table panel. Now, in the table panel, I'm going to fold everything up, because, in fact, I'll drag it out so we can see the whole table panel. Let's pop it into there. Right, I've folded everything up, but underneath each one, you've got detail, and it's appertaining to the table. This is good news. We've even got rotation there, which is excellent. Right, and that's your baseline grid, which we probably won't touch in here, but all of the rest of these properties we will. So, first thing to think about in here, I would like the size of it to work. So I'd like the cells to be, at the moment they are 15.6 mil by 8.5. Well, let's say I want them 10 mil by 10 mil. Why are you not doing that? Going back, that's not on. What's happening? Let me select it a different way like that and see if I can. This worked in rehearsals, that's better. Right, so I've now got them 10 by 10. So each one is perfectly square. This is how you would do a Sudoku, if you remember. But I probably want something slightly different in this first column, because I'm going to have to put in there what it is I'm tracking, or what the date is, depending on how I do it. So I need this first column wider. So one option is to select it, just that column, and then come over here and change the width. But look, now column B's gone. Oh dear. This is what happens, isn't it? You think that was a grand idea, and it wasn't. There is a better way to do that. You can double click in here. Right, go and get column A. If I drag, I've got exactly the same problem. I'm losing column B as I do it. But if I hold down the Shift key, magic happens. I can stretch column A without upsetting the rest of them. That's good news. That's a fabulous tip. So that's the Shift key. Now at the top here, let's say at the top, I would like to put more text in these boxes, preferably going downwards. So I basically need to do the same thing again, but this time with a row and not a column. So, buoyed by my knowledge that the Shift key allowed me to do that with a column, let's try Shift. Oh dear. Shift doesn't work. And if I drag, same problem. No, actually it works that way. But what I did was I made sure by holding the Option key down. But there you go. So now I've got more room at the top. Let's make that 30. Excellent. So we've been able with that to visually do it, which means I can kind of drag it into the right place. In fact, if I turn on my borders, remember I had a 1 centimetre border all the way around it? Well, if I do that, obviously it's now, I've dragged it out. So I've got problems now. Now they're not 10 mil and this isn't 10 mil and the rest of it. But we'll fix that. What we'll do is, we'll go in here. We can probably add a good few more rows into there. So if I do that, and in fact it's probably easier to do it this way, isn't it? I can do it that way, or I can do it this way. Right, let's add some in. So I'm giving myself a little bit of room because I know that they're not the right height. They're only 7 mil. But these rows here, I want to be 10. So I'll go in there and make them 10. And now I've got too many. So I'll need to come back in and I'll need to take 2 of those out. But 18 will fit nicely. Good, we're getting there. We're getting there. And let's make sure that B to H, they're fractionally too big. So let's make sure that they're actually 10. Now it's a little bit too narrow, but we know if we go into here and we hold the Shift key and we drag across, we can move that so it's absolutely perfect. Getting there. Brilliant. I'm just going to command Control and W to turn off those little symbols because they're annoying. Right, okay, we've got a grid. Next thing's really simple. To get text into it's really easy. So what should we track and how should we track it? Should we put dates down the side or dates across the top? Let's put the dates across the top. We'll just track for sort of 8 days. So down here we might want to put exercise. And what else do we track? Oh, water. Yes, water consumption. Who tracks anything else? Do you track anything else, Mike?
No.
Doesn't track a thing. Never mind. We'll exercise water. Shout some stuff out and I'll put them in. But the problem is it doesn't look...
Spending on chocolate.
Oh, spending on chocolate. Did you have chocolate today? Okay. Chocolate. So
Yes, but not enough.
Right. Well, it's not too late, is it? You've got a good 35 minutes, Mike. Right. So basically whatever it is you're tracking. But the problem is the text's aligned to the top and it doesn't look very pretty. Good news is we can select everything here and we can make sure with this, at the moment, it's aligned to the top. But just like we had the text aligned vertically before, we can align it vertically there. Blood pressure. I'm loving that. You could do blood pressure. Have you checked your blood pressure? Let's put that one in. I usually go sky high when I spend money. Oh, steps. Yes, that's a good one. So you could say, have you done your 10,000 today? Kim, you're missing the obvious one. Did you brush your teeth? Oh, tip to the hygienist. Right. So these are the things you're tracking. So you want to put little ticks in boxes that you did. Oh, hang on. 10,000 didn't say what, did I? That could be pieces of chocolate for Mike. Okay, so it's not looking bad. It's not bad. It's now centred vertically. But one of the things that annoys me incessantly in Excel, but Excel can fix it. Google Sheets, no. I'd like these indented slightly. It would be better if that was indented slightly. So select these. Oh, that's a good one. Wash your hands and how many times you've washed your hands. Right, so I've got those selected. And what I'm going to do in my table panel is I've got insets here in the cells option. So on the left, I can indent that text beautifully, 3mm. I know it's a small thing, but it amuses me. I really do like putting that in there. And it's that simple. Now, up here, we need to put in a date. So are we tracking this from 7th, 8th, 9th, Monday? So we'll do that. Right, obviously, bit of an issue there. Bit of an issue. Text's not looking the best. But we'll stick it in anyway. There was a couple of ways to deal with that. So I'm going to make sure that I've got all of those selected. And here we have rotation of the text. So would you like it that way? You like it upside down? Or would you like it that way? Oh, my keyboard's decided to terminate itself. Right, so I've done it there. So that's right, but it looks a bit odd if you look at it. I can now see that's not going to have enough room. And it looks a bit odd. It's probably the alignment that's off. So in here, I'm going to move that down a little bit. So we've got a little bit more room. And these cells, I want to add some spacing to. But where? Is it the left, the top, or the bottom? I have no idea. Let's have a look. At the minute, they're all wired together. So it's the bottom. It does actually make sense. There we go. So it just lines them up a little bit better. And then all you need to do is produce that out. Now, obviously, not looking the best, is it? Not really. But what we can do is you can start formatting it. So what options have you got for formatting it? Well, it would probably make sense to put a better border around it. So around the whole shebang here. Outside border. It hasn't got a fill on it at the moment, but we've put an outside border on it. And we'll make that a little bit thicker than that. Let's take it up to 1, maybe more. Enough so we can see it. And we could change that to a nice colour. So whatever colour we would like. I'm liking that aquary colour. That's nice. You could do all of the inside ones in that colour if you want as well. So in here, are we selected? Let's select those. This one will give you the inside ones, and this will give you all. So if I hit the inside, they're obviously far too big. Is it selected there? Have you done that? I only want that, but I want it a nice colour. Have you done that for me? What are you doing? What are you doing? Working? Yes, it is. I think. Has it done that? That looks black to me. Why are you doing that? I want the inside ones, but not that dark. So much lighter than that. A colour like that, that'll do. We got that now? We do! We've got that petrol-y colour. Awesome. You can, of course, with these being your labels, format that by giving it a fill. So we could come in here and make that very pale. Now, why are you doing the whole thing? I didn't want the whole thing. Oh, I'm in the frame. I'm in the frame. My mistake. My mistake. I want to be in the fill, in the stroke and fill. And I want it very, very pale. So not bad as far as it's going, but I would like it paler than that. So I'll take it down to that and change the opacity. So something like that. I can copy that and then go up there. And let's see if I can get that in without it disturbing anything else. Oh, it doesn't like it. It won't paste the format. Okay, we'll go in and choose another colour then. So we want to choose that and something like that. And we want to fill, don't we? Which was down there. And then change the opacity of it like that. Awesome. I might then want to change that. Might want to change that somehow. But there you go. It's that simple. The trick is understanding the table and the table options that you have. So that was a fairly simple one, but that's your bulleted list. All you would then need to do is to produce that out to PDF, which couldn't be easier. File, export, PDF, and you're done. You can then take that into your iPad and start filling it in with your Apple Pencil or anything else. Or you could print it out and do it the old-fashioned way with a pen, right? Now, the other one, slightly more complicated, wasn't it? So what we were going to do was recreate this one, but we needed to do that so you got an idea for what tables could do. So let's get ourselves a new page. And this time we will recreate the Cornell one. And the way that I did that in there, I could probably have done this with one table, but I took the opportunity to do it with two tables. So first table I had was across the top, and I just put that in. Now you can see, as soon as I try and fill it, it's got too many, and I only wanted 3, and I only wanted 1 row. So that was what I wanted. But once I've drawn out and I've got what I want, I can then pull it out and get it to the size that I want. Now, I think they were fairly small, weren't they? The page number was at the end, so hang on. That one was quite small, and that one was the date, and that was probably about that size, give or take. And that was all I needed. So if we look at that and we look at that, not a million miles away, apart from the border and the text. Now, luckily for that, with the date, it is aligned to the top where it is and to the left. What did I put on the other one? Title. That's right. Okay. Now, what should I be doing with this? In fact, what should I have already done before this? I should have been thinking about styles. Just because you're designing stuff in terms of page layout doesn't mean you don't need to think about styles, because these are headings, aren't they? But for speed, I'm just going to format it in there. So I'll make it my favourite clear little avenir, and I'll take the size down. I don't think that needs to be more than 9 or 10. 10's not bad. But it's too close to the edge. That's going to be very, very close to the edge. So if I move down to here, and I take the left up to 2 and the top up to 2, that will move it in nicely. In fact, you might get away with 1 there. Yep, you would. So that's the top already done. Sorted. The next one is the table below. So how many columns have we got there? We've only really got 2 and then 1 at the bottom. But it's 1 table. Okay. So let's go back in here and get the table and fill the rest of the gap. We'll pull that up. No, it's matching. That's fine. So we only want 2 and we want it to fill it, but we're not quite sure how many rows we want. So maybe that many. I'm loving that comment, Stephen. I'm encouraging my colleague to watch these videos on catch up. They explain things much more clearly and patiently than I can, even if I was able to. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Stephen. Okay, so we've got our 2 columns. Now we stretch it out so it fills it. We'll worry about the height shortly. If I stretch that out, I do get a better height. I don't think I'm going to need that many rows. How many did we have on the other one? Only 30. Okay, well, I was only 1 off then, wasn't I? So let's take that back to 30 and then stretch that so it fits. So far, so good. But obviously, the notes column, which is the main one on the right, needs to be bigger. So we drag that way. There is no particular set size for that. It's just, you know, experience what works for you. And I think, has that got a size on it? Let's have a look. Select that. Just happens to be 61.7. I don't think that was deliberate. It just happened to be 61.7. So something around the 60 mark, I would guess, in there. Although that one, this probably, that's A4, so that's why it's bigger. So that one is 45.4. Let's just make 45 for sake of argument. Okay. Now, how many lines did we have at the bottom? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 at the bottom don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to be split into 2. So what we actually need to do there is to merge those cells. So if I grab the 2 cells and right click, I can merge them. Grab the next 2 and merge those. And now it looks like I've got separate lines. That was how I did it. Okay, so we've merged those together. Excellent. But it shows you what a difference the borders and the colours make. Because looking at that, I can't tell where the notes are finishing. In fact, it's like garish and oh dear. I think in here, I did actually change the colours and make them very, very faded. So we now need to do some magic up here. So first of all, that table there needs to have a stroke on it. So we're applying it to the entire frame if we do the top. We could put a border on the outside if we do it there. So if we go into here, select this, make sure we've got a border on it. Put black on it. I would tend to make that a darkish grey. Maybe something like the 65% mark. And we probably want that a little thicker, particularly at the bottom. So let's do that and see how that looks. Just a fraction thicker if you look at it, but it delineates it. You'd probably get away with more, and that doesn't look like grey to me either. So let's have a look what's going on with that. I definitely said grey. Do you want it to be a paler grey than that? Is that your issue? Let's try very, very pale. And might even get away with a little bit more there. That's looking like black to me. What are you playing at? What are you playing at? Oh, no, no, it's grey. I see what's going on. It's grey. Now, the problem is by making it a border, as you've seen, once you get to a certain thickness, it starts filling in around the edges, and that looks black because that's over the top of it. So, maybe not the best idea to use a border for it. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Clearly not the best idea I've ever had. So, let's go back in there and take that off. So, we just toggle that off there. You're not having it, are you? Right. Zoom out so I can see the whole thing. And select it. Right. Can we take that off? That should toggle off, surely. It does in Excel. Oh, it's not often you hear me say that. It does in Excel. Basically, what I want is one of these. So let's go up there and say none on the outside. Okay. But let's choose the bottom one and put one on there, which is 2.5. Will that do? In grey? Grey, please. A palish grey. Let's try that. We see it? That looks fine. Right, the issue we've got with that, of course, is whatever we do with this one, it's over the top of it, but that will solve itself. Or we could grab this and send it to the back in the layers. So that table there and put it to the back, that would solve the problem. So these are the things you need to think about. But we have a thick line. Right, that actually looks better already. Just for having that line, it separates it. The other one is at the bottom here, which is either a line at the bottom of there or the top of that cell there, whichever. But we'll grab those there and go back to the table and choose the bottom again. Go into there, make it a little bit thicker. Might not need to be quite as thick as the top one. We'll make it 2 and see what it looks like. And in here, I think we were at 55 or 65, can't remember which, one or the other. There we go. So we've got a line at the bottom now. Then what I did was put the line on the left-hand side, which is that one there, turn the line on there. But this time, I went for something wholly different. I went for a red. I made it very thin, so 0.5 should do it. And it looked like that. So looking at that, not bad at all. Thing is, I don't know about you, but changing the background made a big difference. Having that white was just a little bit too much. Also, these lines in here, so all of the lines at the bottom, which was this one, I might make those a different colour. I noticed when I did it digitally, so where are my greys, where are my greys? When I did this digitally, I thought, whoa, they are really clear and in your face, and I didn't want them that clear. So I would probably go through and fiddle around with that one as well. So can we get that done in here? I should have done that one first, actually, and then made the changes, but you get the idea. Now, in terms of the background, I then decided, well, certain notes I might want to be this yellow colour. Other notes I might want to be a different colour. What should I do? Who's thinking there? Oh, is my course on offer because it's celebration of Women's Day? Excellent, excellent. Right, what you could do In fact, what you should probably be doing at this point, what I did with one of these was, if I'm going into a meeting, the title will be the name of the meeting. And I know the meeting's going to go on a bit, so I actually make custom PDFs. In which case, I want a PDF that's got in it the name of the meeting, the date, and the page number. And you can do that. So what I'm going to do with this one is ignore it. But this one here, we're going to change the colour of the page, and we're going to make basically a digital book. And how we're going to do that, you should be telling me. You should be screaming at me what we do with that. I've taken all that time, painstakingly set this up in here, when actually it should have been somewhere else. So let's grab everything. And I'm going to copy it just in case. It should have been on a master page, shouldn't it? That would have been a good idea. If I add a master page here, and I call this my notes master, and I would probably then want to put yellow, right, and OK to that. I now have my notes master. I paste my notes in. Then what I do, I like doing it this way, I put little shapes on there, because I might want to make changes to it. But I would actually draw that out and make it the yellow that I want it to be. So put a fill on it. Not too much. No, not garish. Let's take that down so it's quite a clean lemon like that. Obviously, it's in the wrong place, but in the layers panel, it's at the top. It just needs to be at the bottom. Problem solved. Then what I do is, if it's a meeting where I'm going to take meeting notes, then I will put some text over there, which I tend to do this way. So I've got some control over it. So I'm usually doing governors meetings. Governor meeting. Right. And put that over there. Probably not quite that big. Something like that. And then I would duplicate that and put the date. I actually do have a governors meeting on the 10th. Luckily, I'm not doing the minutes, but I do have a governors meeting. So make that smaller so it fits in there. And move that into the date. Could possibly go a smidgen bigger with that. And that means I can have as many pages as I like, and I don't have to worry about writing the date on every single one of them. And then there's the page number. So I'll have the page number the same size as that. But obviously I don't want it to say March. I want it to say page number. Right, so let's put that there. And how you do that is by going into the text and going into Insert, Fields, Page Number. And then I can put that wherever I like. So I'll put that in the middle there. Is that lined up with that? Now it is. Right, simple. So I actually have a file and it looks very like that. And then I can either print it out or I can make a PDF. Or can I? Because that doesn't look right. That's because I've got two masters. I've got my master A, which is just blank, and I've got master B, which is the right one. So actually in here, I can now just delete everything that I did. Grab master B and drag it onto the page. And that is telling me that's page 2. That's because my tracker is page 1. So let's just get the tracker out of the way. And now there's my page. And all I need to do is put more pages in. So how many pages do you want? Oh, probably at least 15 or 20 for a meeting like that. So let's put 20 in. I want them after page 1. And I want them to use the notes master for yellow. And OK. And now I can print that out, file it in my Filofax. I can use a digital planner wherever I'm going, and I've got all of that stuff. Easy, isn't it? Absolutely easy. Now the other one, far more difficult, but now we've got the principles, not actually that tricky. It's just that I didn't update it when I moved it from Designer. But we'll do it. Now, what page size was that? What document setup did I use? I've got a sneaking suspicion in here. A very sneaking suspicion. It says print, but it's just got dimensions in pixels. So I would probably start again and make it A5 or A4. So there we go. So we need to refer to this for what it looks like. But basically all you've got there, it looks more complicated than it actually is, she said. The complicated bit is going to be the bit on the right-hand side. So let's do the left-hand side first. So we have a box that's square with a number in it. So I'll just put text on there for the moment that says 1 and then make that the size that I want it, like that. There we go, bang in the centre. Right, so that's not bad. We obviously want that a different colour. I went for orange. I think it was basically MacBites orange, but we'll make it a kind of orangey colour. That'll do. And I think that was white. White. Excellent. Halfway there, aren't we? Right, then I put the month, which was just text. So just literally put the text next to it. So let's do March. March. And use the same colour. So hopefully that would be available from in here in my swatches. There's my orange. So are people wanting to use these with GoodNotes or Notability? Why not just use the calendar app? Some people like the sort of physicality of actually just drawing them out and filling them in with a pen. I must admit, I do have one that I actually use. Why are you not going orange? There we go. And it's a weekly planner, and it's literally just so I can scratch it out on a weekly planner. I have tried this. I thought it would be fabulous. It didn't work for me. So I went digital and all my stuff's in Notion, as you all know. But some people much prefer it. Some people have an analogue and a digital system. They go hybrid. Some people do. Just depends. But we've got that. Next one. Ooh, trick. Trick. How do we do this? Because what we've got is some text, but it's right over the edge of it. And is this a table or is it a box? Or doesn't it matter? Well, easy way to do it. Let's just draw in a square. Take the fill out of it. So you can either put a white fill in or have no fill, but we'll put a white fill in. Why is that not white? Where are we? Right, there's white. It had a border on it though. So in here, I would want... Where's my recent colours? Oh, why aren't my recent colours there? Let's go pick it up. Let's pick up the orange from there and apply it to the border. Now I've got a border. It's a bit too small for me. So in the stroke, increase that to at least 1 point so we can actually see it. Perfect. Right, now we need some text. So the text actually, if you look at it, is orange. It says daily goals. So we'll duplicate that and we'll put in daily goals. Who's about to see what the problem is? Bottom font text is too big, so we want it nice, delicate little text like that. So we'll make it 10 points. Right, what's the problem going to be? I will drag the daily goals over there. And boom, there's the problem. That's just an ordering problem in here. There's the daily goals and there's the rectangle. So we'll pull the daily goals on top of the rectangle. We've still got a problem. And that's that it's sitting on top of that. It's easily solved. Just get another box like that. Take that off it, put it behind the text, but over the other one, problem solved. And then align the two of them like that. So coming together nicely. The next bit, once you've got tables, is not difficult. So let's look at the dated pages. There we go down there. It's just 3 columns and a few rows. So back into here, a table tool, drag and drop. It was 3 columns and a few rows. Let's just guesstimate there. Obviously, we don't want it looking like that though. So the first thing to think about is in the table here, we will grab all of these and make them orange. So let's go get that orange. We might want it more than that. I'm not sure. Let's see what it looks like at 1. It might be too much. But we are looking at principle here. In fact, it's not done the whole table, has it? Come on. Want that. That'll do. No, you're not doing it. Why are you doing it? Come on. That one. In orange. I've already said orange, but I'll say it again. There we go. And now that's not the right width. What's this one? 0.5. Let's go up there. Just select that one and make that 0.5. Make it happy. Perfect. Obviously, it's too wide, but now you can scale it. So let's scale it back so it matches that one. Can you change this page to a master page when you've done? Yes, Kim, you can. I'll show you that. So over here, we need A and B to be fairly small. So let's take A and B over there. By grabbing them both together and scaling them, they're both equal. So it's just a fast way to get two columns that are equal without actually having to type anything in anywhere. And then all I need to do is stretch that down so it fills it. If I think the lines are too big, then I can put some extra ones in. So let's say there I want to put in a couple of extra like that. And I'm done. Obviously what I did, let's make that, take that up a bit. Come on. Bit of a gap up there. What I did was put in some things that were always the same. So I can't remember why I put an R in. But basically your morning routine. So morning, afternoon and evening. Obviously I've got formatting issues. But apart from that, let's grab the lot. Let's make it much smaller. Probably get away with 8 or 10. Let's make it 10. You would need to make that aligned with the centre. And maybe on this column, if you're going to type anything in like that, you would want to bump it in from the left. That's bumping it in from all over, but we'll bump it in from the left. So let's take these down to nothing, but just 2 or 3 on the left. What are you doing? No, I'm insetting the frame. That is not what I want to do. I do not want to inset the frame. What I want to inset is what I've got selected down here. But this is what I want to inset from the left. Insetting the wrong bit. 2 will do. Don't need 3. And then I need to format the text. So at the moment, it's the wrong font, which is why it looks a bit weird. And I would probably want that to be the orange again as well. So I'd format the text to be orange. And there we go. So that's virtually redone. Now, it's the bit over here that's the trickiest bit, and I might not do it all, but I'll show you enough to give you the principle. Again, it needs to be a table. Obviously, I've got something to relate it to. There's actually just 2 columns, and the rest is all formatting. So all I need is a quick and dirty 2-column table. That'll do. The rest I can sort out. Can you... 1, 2, 3... 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. I would say there's 31. I could be guessing, but I would say there's 31. Let's go in here. 31. Almost lined up. Almost. Let's just stretch that down. Now, why are you doing that? Why are you jumping? Let's stretch it down so it matches the other one. Now, obviously, this bit here isn't right, so just... No, I don't want to do that with it. I want the 1 arrow and pull that back so I can just get the time in over there. And that's fine. Now, obviously, I told you, I did that. It was hideous. Hello, Maria. Good to have you with us. We have fun every week. Sometimes Friday, sometimes Saturday. Learning and playing. Right, so in here, what I need to do with this is, obviously I've got something to refer back to. Might be an idea to sketch this out with a pen first. But I've got 8 o'clock at the top, which I'm never going to see. So that's just 1 row, but every other hour is split into 30-minute sections. Now, should be really simple to know how I did that. Up there, I'm going to put in 8. Did I actually have full numbers? I did just 08. So let's put 08 in the top one. First thing to think about is formatting that. So 12 points is far too big. 10's probably much better. I think I made it bold. I think I changed it to Avenir. I obviously changed the colour to white. Which won't work well, but I'll do it anyway. So I've made that white. We won't see it. But then in the cell stroke and fill up here, I should be able to put a fill behind that just over there. So obviously I want some kind of orange on that. In fact, let's match it. Let's go get it and fill it properly. Right, so far so good. Now I've got all those hideous things showing which I don't want to see. Right, the whole table needs to have the borders changed to be orange as well. So we've applied a fill, but in there we want to do all and change that to the orange, and 0.5 will probably do nicely. So now it's starting to pull together. Now that needs to be centre aligned. So at the moment it's left aligned. So I'm centre aligning the text. And the next thing then is to start working, and this is a lot of manual formatting. Click in the cell. Now, just in case you wanted to type anything in there, it would probably be a good idea in every cell. The reason I'm struggling here is I can't see the bottom of the screen because I've got a laptop in the way. Right, I will grab the whole lot and make sure that it's set to centred, which I'll sort out in a moment, but more importantly, centred vertically. That's going to make a big difference with what we do next. But this one, in case I'm typing something in, I don't want it to be centre aligned. I would want it to be left aligned, and I'd want to put a gap on the left of 3mm in case I want to type something in. Right, we're good to go on the formatting. This bit here, the whole 2 rows, is 9 o'clock. So I select the 2 cells that I want to be 9 o'clock and merge them. Right click, merge, and then I do the same for 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. So all I'm doing is grabbing 2 cells at a time on the first column, and I'm turning them into what I want them to be. So that one is 09, and that is 10, and that is 11, and you get the idea. And that one looks slightly different because I think I had it formatted as bold. So let's make it book, and then it will match. And I think it was a bit smaller, wasn't it? That was 10. So let's change this to 10. All of them. Make sure it's set to Avenir. Do we need it a little bit bigger? We could probably get away with a little bit bigger, couldn't we? Let's make it 12. There we go. The only thing left to do, apart from grab... That one's 1 o'clock, isn't it? That apart from grab these and merging each one, that's 2 o'clock. Oh dear, what have you done now? I've just changed the opacity when I meant to type in 14. Okay, right. Apart from doing that, the only thing that's left to do is in an individual cell, which would be this one here. Why is that centre aligned? I said to be left aligned. All of you, not half of you. All of you. Right, that one's centre aligned. Doesn't want to be. There we go. Right, that one there, that cell at the bottom, needs to have a border, but it needs to be more than 0.5. It probably needs to be 1. And that delineates 8 o'clock from 9 o'clock. And I need to do, have you seen these? All centre aligned. Why don't I just align them to the right and then push them back to the left, seeing as though they've got a mind of their own. Right, I need to go into the bottom half. Seriously, it's also... No, that's fine. Need to go into the bottom half of 9 o'clock and do exactly the same thing. Click there, make it 1 point, and enter. Go to the bottom half of 10. Go over here. Click the bottom one and make it 1. And you just need to keep repeating that to delineate each hour. And then it would end up looking like that. It's very subtle, but it does make a difference when you're actually using it. And you just do that for the rest of it. Now, I'm going to pretend that we've done that. So, question was asked about, can you then make that a master page? Absolutely you can. Absolutely. Now, it looks like somebody, that would be me, made a bit of a mistake when I did this. And I've got this double thing here, which I don't actually want, do I? No. What I actually want is just individual pages. It won't make much of a difference, but I'm going to go in and change the document setup. Don't want facing pages. Turn that off. That will mean that my master page is single and all of my other pages are single too. So in here, what I would do, Command and A to select everything once I've designed it. Copy it and then go to the master and paste it. Simple as. In here, I can then delete it. Master A should be applied to page 1. I'm wondering why it's not, but we'll worry about that shortly. So on my master, I've got, we're pretending everything finished. And then I would drag my master onto page 1, and that will apply it. So now I have a page. None of this is editable in here. You can select, but not do much. But what you can now do is create the rest, because obviously this is for the 1st of March. So how do you do that? Well, we'll create another page. In fact, we could create a few, couldn't we? I'm only going to create 5 of them for reasons that will become apparent. Okay. And the problem we've got is that the date is the 1st of March on all of them. Joy. That's because on the master, it wasn't clever. It was just a number. Now, unfortunately, Affinity Publisher, as yet, cannot merge. It doesn't do any data merging. I have high hopes, but I fear it will be version 2. Data merging would make my life perfect. It's surprising how often I think, I can't, because I can't merge the data. But luckily, what we're doing here, in terms of we'd like 31 days, we can cheat. So in here where we've got 1, just go up to text, insert, fields, and page number, and it's not letting me do it. Hang on. I could be the wrong side of that. What are you doing? I don't particularly want that. What are you doing? Where did that just disappear to? Oh, let me put in the text again. There's the text. Right. Just need to make that white. Make sure that you're white. So text, insert, fields. It's not letting me put a page number in. Am I in the right place? I should be. Text, insert, fields. What are you doing? Why are you not letting me do that? You just saw me do that in the other file. Well, for reasons best known to itself, it's not letting me do that. Why not? What's going on? I am definitely on the master. Let's fold that lot up. I am definitely on the master. I have text. There's my text. I can even type in page, and what I now want to do is insert the page number. And like I say, for reasons best known to itself, it's not playing ball. I have no idea why it's not playing ball. It did on the other file. Can we just presuppose it is playing ball while I work out what's wrong with it? It should just put a page number in there, and when it does, it works exactly the same as you saw in the other file, which I already did. I've got weird stuff going on here. What on earth? I think my keyboard's gone mad. It's typing funny symbols. So I've turned my keyboard off. Got to love this in a live demo. And I'm going to turn it back on. Everybody hope and pray it comes back. Right, come on. Up you come. No, I'm right. My keyboard's gone mental with itself. And my keyboard, I'd love to restart the app. But if I do, it's my keyboard that's causing me problems at the moment. Come on. Come on, keyboard. Wakey, wakey. I think I broke my Apple keyboard. Yep, my keyboard. Hear that? Dead as a dodo. Oh, dear.
Can you use this one?
I need a keyboard that I can plug in, Mike, swiftly. A keyboard I can plug in. Bear with me 1 minute while I find a keyboard I can plug in. Do we have... Oh, look at that. I wish I had the webcam on. Mike's just pulled a keyboard out from under his desk, which is plug-inable. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, are we alive? No, we're not. Keyboard dead as a dodo. That's probably why it disconnected earlier. I hope I've not broken it. That's £130 worth. Right, that one's been discarded. All I need to do now... Mike, this is filthy. Luckily, it's been in a bag. What I need to do is get a USB port. Give me 1 second. I do wish they could see me. It would be humorous, wouldn't it? I am reaching behind, but I'm going to do a video and show you what I do. I just happen to have an extension lead plugged in the back of my computer that's just a USB thing. so I can plug in anything in an emergency, which is now a keyboard. Okay, are you typing for me now? Let me see if have I got, oh look, I've got keys and everything. Oh, this feels really weird. No, something funny has happened with my machine. I'm using the backspace key and it's not deleting. But it's selected, so let's see if I can go and put that in. If not, oh no, that's dreadful. But we'll pretend, because you saw it on the other demo, thankfully. My machine is definitely upset with its little self. But there's an X, which we're pretending. And obviously that will ripple through to every page. So point being, if that was a page number like it should be, it would work as a date as long as you start on page 1. So I appear to have broken my machine yet again, but if that was a page number, which it should be, which it would be if I could persuade it, then obviously that would come through and you would just make 31 of them, which is what I have actually done. So I demonstrated that to you in one of these files. This one, you saw it working in this one. In here, there's 2 master pages. There it is. And that was the page number. That was when everything was working and happy before I broke things. So it does actually work. Now, the other thing that you can do with pages like this, if you are inclined to do things like bullet journaling, is you can use the new panel and make them even better. So in the studio, you now have a stock panel. And you can go to Unsplash or Pexels or Pixabay. Now, am I right in thinking we couldn't get Unsplash working last week? Let's try flowers. There we go. A lot of bullet journals are full of flowers. But you know what? Mine's going to be full of dogs. Samoyed. Oh, loving that. There's a cute Sammy face. So what you can do in here is actually like put these behind them. I mean, obviously that's a huge image. Oh, that looks like my boy. Also looks like my girl. Oh, I need to zoom out here to squish this down a bit. But basically, I've seen planners, particularly the Franklin Covey style planners, where they've got sort of things at the top and at the background. This isn't going to be the best image for that. But in the layers, put it behind everything and then squish it up, etc. So it works well with flowers. Let's get rid of the dog, much as I love the dog. Let's get back to flowers. And put something like, that one might work well, at the bottom. We could put that one at the bottom. So it's going to be huge, 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 huge. That is huge, isn't it? Good grief. That's massive. Right, let's take that down. Put it on one of the pages. This really isn't my style, but you get the idea. That would actually not work bad because you could fill the page like that and then put it behind it. So let's drag that behind it. That's where that might not be good filled in white, but you get the idea. And then to make that so it's not hideously difficult to write on, you can change the opacity of it so you've got some pretty flowers in the background like that. You'll also notice, this is an important point, that I'll just make it so we can see it a bit more. That image is on page 2, but if we look, it's not on page 1 and it's not on page 3. And yet it's behind the template content. And that's because your master appears in your page and you can drill down into it. And if you wanted this above that for whatever reason, so you can have it at the top, you can have it down below. But if what you want is to have this on every page, then obviously you're going to need to take it from there and actually put it on the master. So cut it off that page, go to your master page and put it on there in the background as the last layer. And then it comes through to every one. So some people do that. In fact, if we go to Franklin Covey, let's get Firefox up. They sent me a mail the other day. Franklin Covey planners. There we go. And they said, you know, our new spring binders. And there you go, there's a picture at the top. So you could put your own pictures at the top. There's plain ones, that's the one I used to have. I used to use that plain one. But it's this style with lots of colours and flowers and stuff all over it like this. Images behind it. So if you look, you could do that yourself, because these are hideously expensive, aren't they? There's some with flowers on. That looks very similar to what I just designed. So that's how you make those. Now, if you want to make something really simple, like a notes page, obviously that's just a variation on that one, where all I would do is, let's get a new page. Let's do that one. All I would do with that is put a table on it. I always tend to use 2 columns, no matter what. And I tend to have fairly wide lines as well, even digitally. Not that I can write straight, but... So do that, stretch it out so it fills it. Drag back what in essence is the margin. So if you just want it for numbers, just make it quite narrow. If you want it wider, you can do that. We can make it as wide as you want. So I probably have it about that wide. And that's it. You've got a notes page. I would, if it was a notes page, put the date at the top, but that's just me. It's incredibly easy. And the other thing, of course, that you can do, yet again, I've gone in here, haven't I, and said facing pages when I don't want facing pages, is in your masters up here, you could make a master that's got this on it, but you could also make multiple masters. So let's make a master C and a, have we got a B and a C? We have. We've got an A, a B and a C. So what you could do with that is take this, that's right, so we'll cut that off. Go over here to Master A, paste it in. Go into Master B and paste it in. Go into Master C and paste it in. You're wondering why you would need 3 of those that are identical. But if you then go to them and you put a box over the top that you can then colorise, so choose a colour for it. So we've done that colour, let's say a nice pinky colour. That obviously needs to be a whole lot paler than that. Something like that. And put it behind the table. And do exactly the same. So that one's selected. So I'm going to copy it. Paste it into there. And move it behind. But then change the colour to a kind of palish blue. And go to the third one. I really don't like white. White's just too stark for me. And then a palish green one. So something like that. And then this bit here, you just decide what pages you want and what colours you want. So if you want it green, you just apply the green template to it. What I will say with the tables is you will find black very, very harsh. So for the lines, I would tend to select the whole thing and in the table, choose all the lines and make that very pale. Especially if you're doing it digitally. Not necessarily as important if you're printing them out, but that looks much better, as does just selecting these, choosing the left-hand one and changing that to a red, like that. I'm on the wrong bit. There we go. And now it actually does look like paper, and digitally it looks amazingly like paper. We are going to be testing something shortly, not tonight, but we're going to be testing something in terms of how we share an iPad, because most of the software is broken, a bit like my keyboard. And I'll use this as a demo, so I'll actually transfer these pages to an iPad so you can see how I would then use them in Goodreader and Notability. But that is how you make planner pages, and you can make those planner pages as amazing or as simple as you like. So let me try and find Keynote on my poorly machine. Am I going to need to? I'm going to need to go shopping if I need a new keyboard. Can't go shopping. Oh no. Now we were going at this point to do the unboxing, but I've got another problem, which is the webcam's not working. So what I'm going to do, you hope is the battery run out. Oh, now Kim, really? Do you not think in my setup sheet, 2 days before a webinar, it says, make sure that your batteries are okay? Oh, I do. My batteries are absolutely fine. I have no idea what the matter is with it, but it was just typing funny symbols. This one is ancient by the look of it. This is one that has the USB thing underneath, and it's amazing how much travel the keys have got. It's an Apple keyboard. I'll show it you if I can get the webcam working. So I'm endeavouring to go into the unboxing, which isn't exactly that exciting, so you won't miss much if I can't get the webcam working, but the webcam's just got a mind of its own. So let's see if we can get multicam going, which sometimes wakes the webcam up. You see, it's working, it's there. Look at it. There it is. But can I get that in Wirecast? No, is the short answer to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create on the fly a new device and see if I can do it that way. Oh, I've got a green light this time, but it's still black. Okay then, fair enough. Right, let's see if I can do it this way, which is the alternative way that we used to do it, which was to bring that up and get that in. Let's see if we can do it that way. I have to scale this manually, don't I? Drive a saint to drink this thing. This is why we switched. But unfortunately, the webcam's not playing ball. But having said that, neither's the keyboard. So that's my desk at the moment. Oh, there's the lid. There's the lid off my drink. And there's my keyboard with my emergency USB port. There you go. That is plugged in. I daren't move the camera, or that'll break. But this cable, this black cable here, is plugged into the back of my machine at all times. And it's then just curled up and hung off a light behind my computer for just these kind of emergencies. So hence I have, could be the Bluetooth, I have a cabled keyboard, which is as old as the hills. There we go. There it is. USB 2. Wow. Let's get it down so you can see it. There you go. Oh, remember those. Anyway, they were the days. So I'm going to move this that way. Try and make some room. There we go. We've got a bit of room now, haven't we? And I'll try and put the keyboard over there. This is ridiculous. Right, I've got some room. This is quite prophetic given what's just happened. This was Mike's calamity this week that meant that I ordered these. This was because Mike's got a monitor. Mike's demonstrated his monitor, haven't you? Go find the show you demonstrated it. It's a special monitor. It's a USB monitor. And it doesn't need power. You literally just plug it into a laptop, plug it into a desktop, and you've got an extra monitor. I think it's about 15, 16 inches. But calamity struck. Oh, he lost his cable. So I said, well, what's the cable? And he said, oh, it's a really weird one. I've not got anything else that uses this cable. So you know what happened next, don't you? You think I ordered one from Amazon. Well, you wouldn't be wrong, but he was bemoaning the fact, and this had gone on for 2 or 3 days, bemoaning the fact that this cable was broken and that he couldn't use his monitor. So all of a sudden yesterday, after listening to it for 2 days, I said, what cable does it need? I'll order you one. If you can get one, but it might be proprietary. So that worried him a bit. Anyway, he handed me the monitor and I looked at it and I handed it back and went, So he was thinking, oh no, it's proprietary. It's going to cost me a fortune. And I opened a drawer and I pulled out the first cable that was in it, threw it to him and said, there you go. So all this is replacing. I decided to take the opportunity to sort the cables out. So this is replacing, I'm not sure which one this is. I had to order one. This is the cable that Mike needed. It was this one, which is a standard hard drive cable, to be honest. But this end, which goes to the monitor, this one here, is why it uses it, because it's incredibly narrow. So I need a pair of scissors now to get in there. Do they have to make this difficult? Do they have to make it difficult? Honestly, as if you're going to seal it up again. Crying out loud. Right, there we go. Let's get into it. So this cable's to replace the one that I gave Mike because he lost it. He'll find it the minute I've got a spare. Come on. Right, I'm in. No need to make it this complicated, is there? So I went for a longer one to replace it, but that's the end. It's one of the very narrow USB ones. And the other end is a standard USB end. So that was what we actually needed to replace. While I was there, I took the opportunity. The reason that that's separate, I got 2 of these, but they had to be ordered separately because there was a discount. But you could only get the discount on one cable, so I ordered the other one on Mike's account. So I do believe that this one is another one of those cables. So not the best, most exciting unboxing, but hey, anything that's unboxing is good, isn't it? I know for a fact that these cables work really well. So you can see they're very similar to the one that I've got this monitor, this keyboard plugged into, that's under here somewhere. It's a very thick cable. It's plastic so I can clean it, and this end is metal, so it's cold when you touch it. The good news with that cable is I used it midweek to test something. I was testing my iPad with it, and the cable that I had didn't work. I plugged it into that, which is just an extension, and it worked. So the thicker the cable sometimes, the better the cable. And then these are fractionally different. These are cables too. But I took the opportunity to have a cable inspection and order a couple of spares. So these ones are different cables, but of a similar genre. Let's open that one. What's this one? Now this one will enable me to plug a hard drive straight into my MacBook Air. So at this end, it's got USB-C on it. The others are standard USB, but this one's got USB-C on it because I am sick of dragging the... I have to use... I know I might be able to show you that. If I just turn this round, you'll see whenever I plug anything into that laptop, I have to plug it into that hub there, and it drives me insane. So what I've done is I've got a special cable, so I don't actually need to use the hub for everything now, which drives me mad. So that's what that one is, and this one I think is an extension, which I'm going to be putting in with the other extension, which is just as well, because now I'm using the extension for the keyboard. So let's see if... Why do they seal these up like this? Good job I've got nails, isn't it? Right, let's get in and have a look at that one. But I've gone for the ones that I know work, because some of them, not all cables are equal. If you look at the ends on these, you can see they are metal, and the cables are very thick. So that is one that I'm going to put in next to the one that I'm actually using, so it's identical to this one. Good job I got it, eh? Good job I got it. If I hadn't had the foresight to put that in, you see. Oh, it's not thrown together, this. And I will show you behind the thing. I wonder if I could do that now. That'd be messy, wouldn't it? You might be able to, if I turn that around a bit. No, it needs to go up a bit. Let's lift it up a bit. That cable there, get something to point with. That there, that white cable under there, that's an emergency lightning cable. So over the top of my machine, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lift it up. I'll regret this. Something will fall over. I'm going to lift this camera up and show you. Or can I? Can I do that? I think I can. There's the light behind it, and there's cables. We're going over the back. Oh, there we are. There's all the cables. There's a grey cable that's curled up, the white cable that's curled up, 2 hard drives, and that lamp that's hidden, going up a bit, there's the lamp, that's hidden behind my monitor, and I hang the cables off it. Oh, behind the scenes or what? Very much behind the scenes. So on that lamp at any one point you will find 3, next week 4 cables to be used in an emergency, which tonight, oh, I couldn't have planned that better, could I? Well, I needed, because I needed a cabled in keyboard. Excellent. So there's all my cables to sort out. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. Right, let's get back in here then. Where did I put Keynote? Because Keynote's not playing nicely either. I shouldn't reboot. You know, I was fine till I rebooted. Then it all went... all wrong. Right, let's get back in here, because we're back next week. Whee! And it's a Saturday again, which will be good for some, not so good for others. But we love Saturdays anyway, so we'll be back on Saturday. Could be Friday if everything's cancelled, of course. But no, we'll be back on Saturday. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We love you guys. If you love us, could you give us a like, a thumbs up under there? It makes a huge difference. The show that got 2 dislikes has got so few views, it's frightening. Oh, poor me. YouTube, really? You give me a chance. But anyway, that would be really kind of you. It makes a huge difference. If you would like first news of all that I do, then you need to be subscribed to elainegiles.com/VIP. That's a newsletter. Goes out generally once a week, maybe more than that. We send a reminder out every time we go live. So that's the place to be. If you would like all things MacBites, which is sort of more than I do, so it's all the fun and frolics of a MacBites, then you need to go to macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail and sign up for that one. You also get reminders about after hours on that one. So sometimes you probably get 2, but they're slightly different if you notice, because I get people that don't want Mac stuff and I get people who do want Mac stuff. So there you go. In the meanwhile, you could join us in Slack. We have a Slack chat room that goes on all week and we have an absolute ball. If you don't know what Slack is, it's private chat, so think Twitter but private. It works on iPhone, it works on Android. There's a behind the scenes picture. Looks like that pretty much now, only worse, as you've just seen. It also works on desktop, and it's at macbites.co.uk/Slack. So you just go there. If you are already signed up, it should take you straight in. If you're not, it will give you the sign up. And it's where we carry on the conversation. So we have great fun on a Friday night or a Saturday night, but that's where we carry on the conversation in the week. So we get lots of questions, we have lots of fun. It's fantastic. If you want to get in touch with us, we can be found at macbites.co.uk. We can be found at macbites.co.uk/Slack, via email, on Twitter, anywhere else, really, basically. But as I say, we're going to be back with a new show next week. I already know one thing we're going to cover. So I'm now moving my laptop so I can see the chat again, because I couldn't see the chat. Oh, no. Right. So where are we? Saturdays are great. Oh, well, next week's a Saturday. Next week's a Saturday, but we usually do Friday, to be honest. So your virus situation isn't good, Kim. We had one. Now we're going into our chat bit. So Maria's probably going to be like, what's going on? We have a rare old chat when we finished. We had one case of the virus about 25 miles from us. But what the government have started doing now is not telling you. So they're telling you how many cases, but not telling you where. So now everybody's highly suspicious of everybody else. Last night, you know that photograph I showed you at the very beginning? There was a photograph I had of where we were last night, which was after I'd been to the dentist and before we went to Tesco's. That one. We went to a dinner and you can see how amazing the place is. If you look in the mirror at the back, so that bit up there, you can see the whole room. In fact, I might even be on that. But there's a lamp in the middle and there was all these swathes of fabric like a wedding. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. And we all know each other. We've known each other for many years. And we wandered in and we were all like dancing around each other and we actually touched elbows. That was how we greeted each other. Now, normally, seriously, we just go in and we hug people and it's, oh, hi, or kisses on the cheek, you name it. No, we all just looked at each other and kind of touched elbows and laughed. So, yeah, it's a very, very serious situation, isn't it? I don't know whether the panic's worse than what's going to happen. I don't know. But I must admit, I think everybody calmed down, didn't they, after the initial arrival? But people are thinking twice. People are indeed thinking twice. So I'm glad it was a distraction from what's going on there. We've no idea what's going on here. But, you know, it's the UK, so I don't think the government have either. What will happen will happen. Right, so I'm catching up with the chat here. So Maria's going to join us next week. That's fantastic. Oh, there's lots of videos to catch up on, Maria. Now, you need to know Pete's always behind because Pete's a doctor and he's on call. People keep disturbing him, which really isn't on, is it, in the middle of a show? So we have a laugh with Pete, how far Pete is behind. There's that. There's my other videos, but there's also After Hours. There's an After Hours playlist and everything's in there. Beneath each video, you'll get an idea of what was done in the show. The click-through links that you get with the timings go up about 24 hours after the show. Oh, well, we might have to think about more Saturdays then, if Saturdays work better for anybody, Alex. We'll contemplate. We'll do a poll. That's what we'll do. We'll do a poll. So Kim's only 5 miles from the epicentre. That's not good. And we know our nearest is 25 miles, and the next nearest is a world-renowned hospital in Liverpool, which is about 45, 50 miles? Yeah. About 45 miles away, Liverpool. And it's the Alder Hey Children's Hospital, which is renowned throughout the world. And they've got one case, which makes you wonder, you know, how do you get one case in a hospital? Where did it come from? So they're obviously keeping their eye on it, but what can you do but see how it goes? We wish you all the best and hope it sorts itself out. With a bit of luck, if you're the epicentre now, it'll die out a bit and then maybe head somewhere else, or maybe they'll deal with it. I was watching Crufts tonight because it was the Pastoral group. The Pastoral group is the group that has Samoyeds in it and other breeds that are adorable. I love Crufts. The Sammy came, was he third? Or was he second? Oh, no, third. Third, the Sammy came. But I was watching it and they were all over each other. And I'm thinking, and one then said, the dog that won it was brought in by a lady from Italy. And I thought, and she got in? Amazing. They have people going to cross from 26 countries. And some people have stayed away. But some people have carried on as normal. So we'll only find out in a fortnight whether that was a good idea or not, won't we? Who knows? Oh, Paul's now in catch-up mode. Can you vote multiple times in the poll? That's Paul, that's not on, because we know you prefer Saturdays, don't you? Because you're travelling on a Friday. I think Friday afternoon should be declared free workplaces. Yeah, you shouldn't need to work on a Friday afternoon if it's after hours day. But we'll see. That's a very good point. We might make it you've got to mail us and tell us just in case. Because if we get 57,000 votes for Saturday, we'll know it's you, Paul. We will. I think Pete would just vote for the night that he wasn't on call. Because he still needs to catch up, does Pete? We're going to have a poll, Tracy, of what night people prefer, Friday or Saturday. Sometimes it can't be helped. We're just not available on the other night. But we aim for a Friday. But we'll see. We'll see what people say. Let us know. You can get to us in Slack or you can mail us. Make a good enough case and we'll shift it. There you go. It's going to have to be a really, really good case. I've left you sat looking at our night out on Friday, haven't I? Which isn't the best thing that you could be looking at when you could be looking at when the next show is, which would be much more use to you. There you go, much more use to you. Well, last night, Mike was rather peeved. We'd ordered the cheese and biscuits. It was soup that we'd got, lamb for the main course, and then there was cheese and biscuits. And the other alternatives, one was a panna cotta, wasn't it? I can't remember what the third one was. But then Mike spotted somebody had got fruit salad and said, oh, I got good with the fruit salad. When this fruit salad appeared, it was actually looked really nice. And the guy got ice cream with it. So then I was peeved because we'd ordered cheese and biscuits, but we'd had to take our own biscuits because we're gluten-free. Turns out the guy opposite was gluten-free as well. So he said to the lady serving, have you got any gluten-free biscuits? So she looked at the plate and she took it away with her. She'd returned 10 minutes later, puts it down in front of him and said, that's the gluten-free cheese and biscuits. It was a plate full of cheese. There was no biscuits. So he was sorry he'd bothered. And he actually said to me, were they gluten-free biscuits you had? And I said, yes, we bring our own. We don't go to an event without gluten-free biscuits. Are you insane, man? Absolutely. So we had our own with us. And we always do that. We always do that. It's a far better idea than relying on them. Having said that, the hotel that we went to, that we showed you last week, and the one that guide was for tonight, which was the Elverston Hall Hotel, which is part of the Warner Group, they had this lovely... In fact, there was a lot of them, weren't there, that were Spanish, young Spanish waiters. One guy had come over and he brought his girlfriend. Then she told her friend, and she'd come over with her boyfriend. So there was a whole gaggle of them. And we said to him, no bun for the bread because we're gluten-free. And he went, would you like a gluten-free bun? What? You've got gluten-free buns? Yes, please. And he was so sweet after that. In the morning, he said, every morning when you get breakfast, do you want toast? No, thank you. He said, I've got gluten-free toast. We'll have gluten-free toast, thank you. We had an absolute ball. So they're definitely going back there, Definitely going back. It was fabulous. He did, Kim. That was what was so funny. When this cheese arrived on the plate, I looked across. I couldn't see that there were no biscuits. But I thought, good grief, there's a lot of cheese on that plate. And I looked at mine and I'd got, there was a spreadable soft cheese. There was, what was that cheese? That spreadable soft one. It's nice, that. I think it's a French one. And then there was it could be brie. And then there was another piece which was more like something like a slice of Edam cheese. But the other one was the blue Stilton mould thing, which, I've just been to dentist. I'm not eating that. He'll go mad. So I said to Mike, do you want this Stilton? So I got swapped for something less offensive. But the guy, the amount of cheese he had on the plate, but he had to cut it up into squares and eat it that way. So he was less than pleased that we had biscuits and he didn't. But there are biscuits and we took them with us. So what can we do? It wasn't like the loaves and the fish that it fed the 5,000. It only fed Mike and I, I'm afraid. But hey, we had the foresight to take them, so what can I say? Anyway, I know one thing that I'm doing next week. It's interesting. It's a very interesting thing, and a lot of people are talking about it at the moment. So I thought it would be a good idea to cover it. I'm going to warn you up front. Some people are saying, oh, it's better than Notion. I can assure you it is not better than Notion. So you heard that first. It is not better than Notion. It is better for certain things than Notion may be. But after I'd explained it to Mike, it was like a cartoon. His eyes came out on stalks and there was that kind of clunking noise. And I said, yeah, not for you. He went, no. But it is something that everybody's talking about, so I intend to talk about that. But that means we've got 2 free slots. So if you want anything, now's the time to mention it. Or in Slack in the week. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to just pick 2 random things from our extensive list of your suggestions for future topics. Are you doing charts or are you doing Access? Have you made your mind up? Oh, Mike's got a decision to make. So if you want to push that in one way or another, if I told you, Neil, I'd have to kill you. But I think it's safe to say, no, it's not Coda. There you go. It's something interesting. Its whole concept is interesting. The first time I looked at it, I thought, no, definitely not. But the more I thought about it and the more research that I did, it clicked. And I thought, this has got legs. So I took a whole amount of time this week to myself. I indulged myself with a new toy, and that's why I'm going to share it with you. What's everyone talking about? We don't have to wait till next week. You do. Because if I tell you, you'll go off and have a look. And then the problem will be, you'll be in abject horror that I could even contemplate it. But trust me, it's an odd thing to cover, but you're going to like it. So we've still got Dev and Think on the list. You're absolutely right. We've got that. An editable PDF. Right, in what way do you want to edit the PDF? I know there was a question in Slack about creating a PDF that you could use as a form. And we had a rare old look at that, and we came to the conclusion that's not easy these days. It is if you've got Acrobat, but, who's got Acrobat? I've got Acrobat, and I don't like using it. It's horrible. It's like Fisher-Price had an accident in the interface design department. It's horrible. I usually end up using the help to find the option, whereas before I would fly around the menu quite happily. It now looks like an iPad app that's been shoved on a Mac. It's horrible. Horrible. You think Mike would like Coda? Okay, then. I hope you're making a note, Mike, of all these things that are being suggested. You want to make a form. It can be done. I do believe there is an option. Now, are you Mac or Windows, or is it iOS? Where would you like to make this editable form? iOS is pretty much a complete dead loss when it comes to making editable forms. Acrobat can do it, and that can do it on Mac and Windows, but it's an arm and a leg. The cheapest way to get Acrobat is if you just want Acrobat on its own. But if you wanted something else, then it's actually cheaper to go for the whole lot, but it's still an arm and a leg. There is another option, but as far as I can work out, it's only Windows so far. But that was something that we thought about, because if I wanted to make a fillable form, I'd just go to Acrobat and do it. It's one of the few jobs I'd do in Acrobat, but I mentioned it to Mike and said, what if... Oh, that's good news if you're on PC, Deb. That's good news, because this app works on PC. So, shall we put that down, Mike? Can you make that? No. How to make a fillable form in a PDF. There you go, Deb. It's on next week's show. You see how fast you can get something on a show. There you go. We'll do that next week. It may be me or it may be Mike, because yeah, we could do it in 2 ways, couldn't we? Some people won't know you can make a fillable form. There's a point. An Acrobat trial to get it done. That's what I mentioned to Jonathan last week, who seems to be asleep. Jonathan's nodded off. If you took a trial for whatever it was you wanted to do. So the things that sprang to mind for that was something in Acrobat, like you've done, smart objects in Photoshop, or what Jonathan was doing, which was he wanted to convert INDD files in InDesign to IDML files. But in the end, he worked out he only had 2, and I said, just send them to me and I'll do it. Which I'm happy to do for anybody else. If you've got half a dozen files or so you need converting, just send them to me and I will convert them. Didn't even bother reading it, Jonathan. You said I knew everything anyway, but none of my business what's in your files. I just converted them for you. So happy to do that. I mean, it is ridiculous. The default file format for InDesign is INDD. You actually have to go out of your way to make a file that Affinity Publisher can read. So there's going to be a lot of people out there with InDesign files that could be read by Affinity Publisher, but only if they'd taken the trouble to save them out in a certain way, which isn't Affinity Publisher's fault. It's just the way that InDesign works. If InDesign defaulted to the right format, then nobody would have a problem, but obviously it doesn't. And now I've got a problem. I need to sort my keyboard out. No idea what's going on there. Is Mike going to the derby? Is it at home? Yeah. He may do. Who knows? Watch this space. Can your heart take it? Hey, Neil, who says the derby's going ahead? The latest news from the UK today, and I'm not joking. If I could find this online, I would. It was on Sky News, which it could mean it's a pack of lies. I tell you what, let's go and have a look. Let's see if I can find it. Oh no, I can't get out of this, for crying out loud. There we go. This was something I saw. So let's go to Firefox and let's go to Sky News. Can we do Sky News? See if I can find it. Oh, you see, Milan's set for lockdown. What else is going on here? This was supposed to be genuine, but I thought it was an April Fool's, but it was a bit early if it was. Don't see it listed. Don't see it listed. But the story was, maybe if I do a search for it in here, the story was banning people who are over 70 from football matches. And I said to Mike, are they kidding? I mean, how would you enforce that? So if you're a season ticket holder, obviously they know who you are. But as I pointed out to Mike, most of United season ticket holders are in their hundreds. Because people who had a season ticket in the sort of 50s, 60s, if you died, you were supposed to give it back. It was supposed to be reallocated. But what happened was grandfathers gave it to fathers, who gave it to sons, who gave it to their sons, and so forth. Or daughters, indeed. And they're still in the original names. So a while back, they had an amnesty. If you have a season ticket, it's your great-great-great uncle who had it, they would change it into your name. But there's still quite a few people out there where they have a season ticket that they pay for, they use, but it's in somebody's name who's now 146. Don't think they're going to get in then. And I said, what if you've got people who are a man going in with a woman's ticket or a woman going in with a man's ticket? Never mind what age they are. It's unbelievable. Exactly. Alex Ferguson's 78, according to Mike. Oh, good grief, Kim. I didn't realise that. If you're over 60, you're advised not to leave the house. This is just scary. I just thought it was incredible. I mean, if you want to cancel an event, fine. But seriously, let me see if I can find this thing. Limiting it to over 70s. Over 70s. Banned football. Let's see if we can find it that way. There you go. There it is. Oh, the Sun. I never want to be quoting the Sun. But there you go. And as somebody makes... No, I do not want notifications. No. As somebody points out there, Alex is 78, so he won't be going. All this for 116 cases at that point, but I think there's 200 now. But I do think, and they also pointed out here, that one of the managers is 72. You couldn't make this up. Oh, I'm just thankful it wasn't the 1st of April. Unbelievable. Another suggestion was play them behind closed doors, which for some clubs would see them closed down because they need the revenue. And as people pointed out, and do what with it? Televise it? Oh, on Sky, where you've got to pay for it? Well, I'll just go to the pub and watch it then. And then that's just as bad. So either play the game or don't play the game, but don't play around. Yeah, that is genuine. Have we got a better source than the Sun? There's the one from Sky News. That's the one I read. Liverpool Echo, the Mirror, the Daily Mail. Oh yeah, all the good sources, aren't they? But yes, that's genuine. That is absolutely genuine. Let's have a look at Liverpool Echo. Who've they mentioned? They must mention somebody who goes in Liverpool. Let's go down there. Did it mention anybody? Oh, it's just their players. I just think that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But what can you do? The world has gone absolutely mad with this. So we'll just have to see. Hopefully everybody else... Neil, that's an excellent point. The Sun is indeed a brilliant replacement for toilet paper. Sadly, we don't buy the Sun. In fact, we don't buy any newspaper at all. I can't be doing with it. In fact, you put the 24-hour news channel on. Have you noticed how many breaking news stories there are on that? I was saying to Mike, I remember a few years ago, a breaking news story was something like Diana had died. I think one of the first I remember is... it was a strike at ITV. I think it was the late 70s. And they broke into one of the programmes to say the strike was over, which meant they could actually broadcast the programmes that they were broadcasting. The next time I remember, I got up on a Sunday morning at ludicrous o'clock, about 4 o'clock, 4:30. And at that point, we did have a TV. And it was in the bedroom. And I had left it on. And I looked at it, and there was some video playing of Diana in Australia in 1982, the year Prince William was born, and there was Prince William as a baby. And I thought, oh, I remember that tour. Why are they playing this? And it was only as I sat looking at it, it came up and said, breaking news, Diana's died. That's breaking news. But on the news channel these days, Tesco's have got 3 toilet rolls in. That's breaking news. Tesco's have got toilet rolls. Anyway, I'm happy to report Tesco's did have toilet rolls last night. And we went in at that time. We didn't need to mingle with anybody, did we? There was only a handful of people there. But it was, we did manage to get the majority of what we needed. Apart from the fact I said to Mike we need a new nail brush. And I forgot to buy the nail brush. I suppose what I could have done was buy one of those toothbrushes at £34. Are they that price in the States, Kim? Let me know. Oh, Diana was lovely. She really was. I have only seen the thing about Kennedy, but it gives me chills, and I wasn't even born then. Just watching it, and I've seen a documentary about it since that said the camera that they used, I think it was Walter Cronkite, wasn't it? The camera they used needed to be warmed up. It was a valve set, and it weighed about 100 stone, and they had to get it in a lift and take it to wherever it needed to be and warm it up. And you're thinking, good grief. But when you watch it, it's absolutely awful. There was also an episode of Mad Men that had that in it. And again, it really brought it to life, even though I wasn't even born then. Digital newspapers. Yeah, that's not going to work on a Kindle, Tracy. It's not. Is Tesco's open all night? Tesco's is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Apart from Sunday, we have very strict Sunday trading laws. So Tesco's and Asda, I think they're the main 2 that open 24 hours. They close at midnight on a Saturday. They open again at either 10 or 11 on a Sunday and close 6 hours after they open. They're only allowed to open 6 hours on a Sunday. But at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, they open again until midnight on Saturday. Not every Tesco's does it, but we've probably got about 3 or 4 around here that do. Asda's probably similar. We've got an Asda that's about 2.5 miles away. They're open 24 hours. And there's another couple within sort of 5 or 6 miles that do. I wouldn't say it was busy. It wasn't busy, but they were filling the shelves, so they were busy. We had to queue for a checkout, but that's because I'm awkward. Let me tell you why I'm awkward. These self-service checkout things? I don't like them. With a passion, I don't like them. And my logic is, I'm coming in here and I'm buying stuff, and there's staff here and they're working. So, I'm not doing their job for them. I want somebody at a checkout checking me out. The other issue was, I had a card, a Now TV card, like an iTunes card, and it needs activating, and you can't do that yourself, so you'd need to call somebody over anyway. So by the time the thing screeched at me 57 times that there's an unexpected item in the bagging area, and I'm screaming at Mike, and then you're trying to get everything in the trolley and out of the same trolley when you've got an entire trolley full, it doesn't work. So I just eyeballed the woman and pointed to a checkout. There was one checkout open, but she opened another one, because I'd eyeballed her. And then Mike came back and we got out fairly easy. But I just thought it would be easier than going on a Saturday. I'm not great with shopping. Right, so buy in bulk and get them for about 3 years. Well, we do that with toothpaste from Costco. But we bought some of the brushes for the Oral-B electric. And we got, I think it was 4 in a packet for about £12. I found some that were, I think there were 16. They weren't Oral-B though, so I needed to test them before I went and bought them. But I think there was 16 in a packet for about £8. So when I went in there and they had a packet that was £34, I thought, you're joking. And all the security on them. Like, is there a big second-hand market in these things. Mind you, at the price, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't, to be honest. So we have got enough brushes. If I can't find a nail brush, I'll be repurposing a toothbrush. That's my next plan. I wonder if what your mum thought, Deb. She probably thought you'd made a mistake. But you remember moments like that. I believe you can make your own hand sanitizer, but I'm worried about what that contains. I should actually have told you at the beginning in the week at MacBites headquarters, when I got to the dentist, having done the tour of the car park thinking, is anybody in? I got in and the first thing she said was, can I stop you there and ask you to read this? And it was a form from the government that they had printed out, and it had on it all the latest instructions. And basically it was asking, had you left the country? Had you been to this country, that country, or another country? Should you be self-isolating, blah, blah, blah. So you had to go through this thing and then like, no, I'm fine with all of that. And then she said, and could I ask you to wash your hands with this hand sanitizer? And it was quite a big bottle of hand sanitizer. So I reached out and put my hand under it and she went, can I just tell you before you do, it's quite liquid. So it wasn't really gel, it was more of a liquid, but like an alcoholic liquid. So I put my hand under it and I pushed it and I went, oh, you're not kidding. And it was like water. So I did my hands with it, and my hands at this stage, they're dripping all over the place. So she said, go up to the hygienist, it's upstairs. So I managed to get upstairs without touching the handrail. That was a feat of achievement. I gets up there, my hands are still dripping. And there's a guy sat there reading a magazine. So he must have walked because his car wasn't in the car park. And I walks in holding my hands in front of me like a surgeon. And I said, I looked and I said, I've just been deloused on the way in. He said, yes, so was I. And he moved his hands with this magazine. And he said, it was a bit liquid, wasn't it? I said, oh, yeah, as it's dripping down my arms. He said, yeah, they didn't tell me that before I pushed it. And he pushed it thinking it was gel. It hit his hand and went all over his shirt. So the pair of us stank like alcoholics. But hey, we got in and out of the dentist and I got 5 gold stars, so not all bad. We do have Costco. We have a very local Costco, but there's also across the country we do quite well with those. Our Costco has Oral-B as well, but I just thought the price of those were absolutely ridiculous. It was 4 times the price to buy them from Tesco than Costco. Costco's recently had a sale on. When they have a sale, the sale comes on in March, and it's toothbrushes, the replacement heads for the Oral-Bs, and the toothpaste. So that's when we stock up and we store it under the bath. So it wasn't toilet paper for us, it was toothpaste. Can you imagine if I ran out of toothpaste? That wouldn't be good. I'd have to use salt or something. All right, what we've got here? Oh, no, the Twin Towers. That was another one that really was, wasn't it? The Twin Towers. I was in Leeds, which is a major city in the UK, about 70 miles to the east of where we are. And I was in a government building. I was training the NHS, people who work for the National Health Service. And I had a pager at the time, obviously it was 2001, and I had my mobile phone in my bag, but I had this pager strapped to me so clients could get in touch with me, and the pager was going mental. And every 2 seconds it was paging, and I'm thinking, I can't stop this training course. So I'm reaching under my blouse and I'm pushing the button to turn it off. It was literally going off every 2 minutes. One of the ladies on the course, there was only 2 people on the course, and her father had been taken into hospital. So she said, I could do with ringing the hospital. So I said, feel free, we'll stop the course. At which point I got this pager out and I'm looking at it, and it was a text-based pager, so I could see all the messages. And I had something like 67 messages, and every one was an update on what was happening in America. So she came back in, said things weren't good for her father. By this stage, we were probably about an hour off finishing the course. So I said, things aren't great in America either. And they decided at that point they'd abandon the course. She'd go visit her father. And I thought, well, I don't know about abandoning the course. What's the problem? But as I got downstairs, in the foyer of this building, because it was a government building, there was 5 lights. I didn't take much notice on the way in, but they were the state of alert lights. And at this stage, it had got to 4 out of 5. So as I reached out, I handed my pass in. And as I reached out to the gate, the guy said, you're going to be the last one in or out, so make your mind up. We're going into lockdown. We're gone to level 5. So I went, I'm off. I'm going home. So I got out and I was the last person out of that building. I don't know how long they were in there. But I spent the journey back listening to half a dozen radio stations and then spent the night watching it on TV. It was horrific, absolutely horrific. I remember having 3 channels, and I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm 52. When we only had 3 channels. We had ITV. In fact, do we have 2? Wait.
BBC 2 and ITV.
We had BBC 1, BBC 2 and ITV, but BBC 2, in fact, BBC 1 didn't start broadcasting until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it went off at 11 at night. Most of them did. There was actually like the dot at the end when they went off, and now we've got, I dread to think how many channels. And yet, just more rubbish on them. I'm sure TV was better and better back in the day. We had a black and white one as well. Yeah, we had a black and white TV. In fact, do you know what's worse than that, Paul? I don't know if you'll remember this. There was one of these, like, what are they called? JML. These things that come in batches in supermarkets. And it was a piece of plastic that you put over the TV to watch a Western with. The top half was blue and the bottom half was like a soil colour. It was a scream. Mum bought one and put it on a black and white TV and we just howled laughing. I don't know what she was thinking.
Did they? Correct.
But I do actually remember getting a colour TV for the first time. Yeah, I remember Channel 4 coming on as well because the first programme was Countdown. Who remembers Channel 5 coming online? That was 1997 and it was opened by the Spice Girls. They were big at the time. So we have mainly 5 terrestrial channels, but there's 100,000 of others. But like I said, still nothing to watch, is there? Absolutely nothing to watch. That's why we don't bother with a TV. We have access to a TV, but not a TV. But the one programme I wanted to watch this week is called Liar. And it was episode 1 of series 2. And I was disappointed. The series 1 had been fabulous, and series 2 started, and it was one of those things where they were darting about in time. So they were going backwards because somebody had died at the beginning, and they were going back to when he was alive. And I'm like, oh, come on, I hate it when they do that. So hopefully it'll perk up. But oh, now what criminal shows have you got, Maria? Do you mean things like Morse, Lewis, Endeavour? What else we got? Midsummer Murders. I saw a good one last week, much better than I was anticipating, but I've got that sense of humour. It was a murder mystery thing, but it was definitely tongue-in-cheek, and there was some really good funny bits in it. It's called MacDonald and Dodds. The guy who's in it is Justin. No, not Justin. Oh, what's his name? Not Justin. Jason something. And I thought I'd seen him in a load of stuff, but when I looked at his Internet Movie Database, I thought I've not seen any of these programmes, so I don't know where I know him from. But I actually found that one very, very funny. I must either have a better memory, Paul, or be older than you. That's all I'll say. That's all I'm going to say about that. Right, okay then. Oh, Vera. Yes, Vera's on as well. I think there's been a couple of new episodes of Vera lately. I must admit, I've only ever seen one episode of that at the very beginning. Reason being, not because I didn't like it, it was fine. My dad was ill, my mum was ill, so all I did with them was just record them, and I've never actually managed to catch up with it. But I believe it's very good. The one I saw was pretty decent. Well, if we're not going to break any records, we need to be getting off because we're heading to 4 hours, which is a record. So next week, we've got Secret Sauce, Secret Toy, and we're doing creating forms in PDFs because we want to. But yeah, because we've been asked to do it. So we'll cover that as well. Luckily, on PC, but we'll do it on Mac as well. I'll do the bit on Mac and we'll see if I can persuade Mike to do the bit on PC, but we'll see. I've started watching stuff on YouTube, Neil. I'd never treated YouTube as a TV channel before, but when you go there, there are actually series and stuff on there. I've got the premium, so is it YouTube Premium? So I don't see adverts. It drives me mad, adverts. But yeah, I've started watching stuff on it and it's very, very good. Some people who aren't particular, not like CBS, just YouTubers putting out incredibly good content. Right, well, we are going to head off. Sorry, Maria, we've got to head off. We're going to have something to eat. We always have something to eat, despite the fact it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We usually share that as well. Graham's not here, so I don't know what Graham's had.
Next week.
Don't forget next week what?
It's an hour later for something.
Yes, the time next week's going to be off by an hour, depending on where you are. But I can assure you it's going to be, if you're trying to find it, 9 o'clock Zulu time. which is Greenwich Mean Time. So if you're in any way unsure, find out when 9 p.m. on Saturday, Greenwich Mean Time, is in your time zone. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, there's a link in there that you click and it will show you. Make sure you're here at the right time. Make sure you're here at the right time. But until next week, I'm going to have some fruit. Fruit's my stuff tonight, after far too much cheese and biscuits last night. So fruit it's going to be. What are you having?
Bed.
Oh, Mike's decided he's had enough and he's going to bed. But we will be back next week. So until next time, it's good night from me. Okay, who's counting? Only you. I've just said good night from me.
Oh, good night from me.
Good night from Mike, and we'll both see you next time. Good night, guys. I'm off to fix the keyboard.